Ladies and gentlemen, KVV here. Soly and I are back this week for another deep dive episode. Hey, we've really been appreciative of all your feedback on these, especially your willingness to put up with some truly terrible impressions and accents by yours truly. I promise our Scottish and Irish listeners, I love you most of all, even if every accent I do sounds like a combination of Sideshow Bob and Groundskeeper Willie. Look, a lot of good memories and laughs in this one, which we recorded a month ago before Soly went and doubled the size of his family. If you like these podcasts, I'd really encourage you to check them out in our No Laying Up podcast channel on YouTube. We often throw lots of little visual surprises and screen grabs in to help tell the story. Plus, you can also see me and Soly try to crack each other up, which is kind of its own sporting event. But before we get to it, a quick word from our friends at Rhoback. I can't tell you how much I love my Rhoback activewear. You all know Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. Cooler weather is here, which means the best season. Rhoback hoodie season. I think I have about 6 of these and still not enough. It's my favorite item I own. It's the Rhoback hoodie is just simply unbeatable. It's so soft and so comfortable. I personally wear it everywhere. Rhoback also just released their new hybrid jacket, and we love it. It's insulated quilting in the front and the back, panels and stretch and knit sleeves. It's really just warm and flexible. The internal and external pockets are super clutch as well. I've been loving this jacket. Super clean. Finally, Rhoback's Delta pants are back in stock. These things sold out almost immediately after the first release, and it's easy to see why. Fabric is comfortable and wrinkle resistant, has a really clean look. The belt loops make it ideal for the course or just for your go-to everyday pant. Style it with your Rhoback hoodie, hybrid jacket, or crew, and you are set to go. Look good and feel good. Rhoback is having their biggest sale of the year for 20% off the entire website for all customers. That's 20% off hoodies, pants, jackets, and more. No code needed. Just head over to rhoback.com and introduce others to the most comfortable activewear in the game this holiday season. All right, let's get back to the deep dive.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are almost through the 90s. KVV is here, and we are going to be diving in to the major championship season of 1998. KVV, what were you up to in 1998?
Oh my goodness. I was a junior in college. I was the sports editor at the Montana Kaiman at the University of Montana. I had my first long-term real girlfriend. Yeah, it was a wonderful time of my life. I was drinking a lot of terrible beer, really just living it up in Missoula, Montana, wearing, khakis and Adidas. Probably really bad styling on my part, but man, it felt cool at the time. Occasional backwards hat.
We're pulling up some old images from me in 2015. I was also wearing khakis and Adidas, which I was 17 years late on that. That's a tough one to keep reliving. I think I was getting ready to go into 7th grade, if I have the math right.
Okay.
And I graduated at middle school in 2000. But do you remember what else was going on in sports summer of 1998?
Home run race.
That's exactly right. Sammy Sosa was on the cover of after the U.S. Open, because usually the majors got front cover of of the Sports Illustrated run. That was a big deal back then. Yes. What was it? Whatever was on the cover. And Sosa hit like 20 home runs or something in June. He was on a hot tear that month, and he was on the cover. But that had captivated pretty much everything in this. But how did you find your majors in 98 compared to some of the other ones we did? Where does this one rank in terms of interest and intrigue of what happened this year?
98 is a lot of fun. 98 Masters is a lot of fun. I got some good nuggets, some funny details. I hope will make you smile a little bit. Some shit that I definitely did not remember. It's very kind of a bang bang going down the stretch. It definitely would feel like a Masters where we would be riveted. PGA, very sleepy. Not exactly a riveting contest. Although a little bit of interesting. It's interesting to see who it would appeal to, because a lot of guys hitting just long irons off the tee, a lot of trees and thick rough around the greens to navigate. Might be the true Brandel Chambly major championship pinnacle.
Well, the same goes for Olympic Club 98. So for this year, just again, spoiler, if you don't want to know who won the majors in this year and you truly don't know, maybe just hit the 30-second button here, but I'm going to tell you why we split it up the way we did. Marco Meara won the Masters and the British Open. We usually alternate back and forth, but we wanted to split up who, so somebody wasn't just, spending multiple days covering Marco Meara. As much as we love him, I just don't know if I would have, wanted to do 2 different majors that he won. So you are going to do the Masters. I'm going to take the middle 2, which is the U.S. Open and the British Open. And then you are going to bring us home with the 1998 PGA at Sahalee. Are you ready to dive in? You want to go take us to the Masters?
I think I'm ready. I'm excited. Soly, do you remember who was the defending champion at the Masters in 1998?
Eldrick Taunt Woods was the
Yes.
defending champion. He eked it out the year before.
A lot of talk in the world of Tiger, of like, is Tiger basically about to like completely blow golf over? Like, is he the Michael Jordan of golf? Tiger's actually sort of embracing that thing. But some controversy comes with lots of attention. Weirdly, like, this is a time when golf writers had a lot of power, and so they're a little bit persnickety about whether Tiger was kissing the ring, bowing down to them. He had skipped media at the US Open after day one last year at Congressional, and then sort of pissed off a lot of people. I think John Feinstein sort of dressed him down, basically said that no one was above the game. So Tiger at the Masters dinner.
Some of these people may have held 25-year grudges for like some very early Tiger Woods things that happened. If I could remember right.
I would like to say, like, whatever grudges I may have held over stupid petty shit, I really nothing compared to like the writers of previous eras, because I'm happy to talk to like any live guys that I've like criticized in the past, whatever. But some of these writers, they are just years and decades of anger over whether Tiger paid them proper respect.
Which something of note is, like, when I've dealt with some older players in any way, doing interviews or something, like, several of them kind of blow me away with their professionalism in terms of how they've treated me as a media member, just that they don't know. I remember you told the story from this past year at the Masters. I think it was on that Sunday prior to the tournament when you bumped into Ben Crenshaw in kind of a little scrum. And he like introduced himself to you, and so like that was the way to you only have these how many guys that are going to be writing about you. Like if you smiled at him, looked at him in the face, got lunch with them every now and then, treat them with a little bit of respect. Their words are going to be maybe a little bit nicer about you through the course of your career. And Tiger just did not give a shit about that.
I will say though, so at the Golf Writers Association dinner. Soly, I'm a newly minted member of the Golf Writers Association, just so you know. Just it took me going to No Laying Up to have to join that organization. But anyway, they have a dinner every year on the Wednesday night, and Tiger appeared at the dinner to accept his Player of the Year award. And he apologized to the media for having skipped.
So sorry, guys.
Guys, I'm a young guy. I'm going to make mistakes. He apologized to the media for having skipped US Open media earlier that year, said that he's learning, and he hopes to sort of be better in the future. A lot of people in this era cannot resist that it is Tiger versus the field at the Masters. This is kind of the first appearance of that trope that will kind of ring out through basically like a decade at least, if not more. Ernie L's kind of miffed about this. He says, if you want to write that, go ahead and write it. But I don't think that's the case. I almost did the South African accent there, but I
love
scared.
When you pull the ripcord.
Gutless.
When you pull the ripcord on an accent.
Jack, this is bad.
No. Pull up.
Monty says, I hope we're all just seeing it just once, the way he played last year. If he plays like he did last year, we've got a battle on our hands, obviously. This will be the first Masters without Ben Hogan. Oh, listen, come on. We know the impressions are bad. The impressions are terrible. Like, they're terrible on purpose in many ways. This is the first year at the Masters Champions Dinner without Ben Hogan. Hogan died last year, and we almost lost Sam Snead. Sam Snead is taken to the hospital on Tuesday night of the Masters with what is reported to be a mild stroke. He actually hits the opening tee shot later, apparently not that big of a
very
thing.
Mild.
As you may remember, a little bit of controversy at last year's Masters over the Champions Dinner. One Fuzzy Zeller said to the media in the midst of Tiger winning the Masters, of course, just tell him not to serve fried chicken and collard greens or whatever the hell it is they serve. An interesting change that you can tell from the media now is that the media is kind of, I would say, hectoring Tiger a little bit about how he needs to do a better job of accepting Fuzzy's apology. There's a lot of like, hey, can't we all just move on over this? Like, why is Tiger still sort of being cold to Fuzzy? Tiger has like accepted Fuzzy's apology and is basically just like, yeah, like, we're not going to be friends, but we'll go ahead and move on. But there's still a lot of like, isn't it about time for Tiger to realize that Fuzzy was just kidding around?
Tiger, don't you understand? This joke would have slayed down here for like 60 years. Okay, all right.
Oh, so Fuzzy has basically refused to speak to the press, although he still kind of speaks to them, but he won't like do any kind of like sit down, won't talk about it for like a year. But he breaks his silence and he compliments Tiger's champions dinner. Do you remember what Tiger served, Soly?
Was it sushi?
No, it was cheeseburgers, grilled chicken breast sandwiches, French fries, and vanilla or strawberry milkshakes. I guess I'll eat crow, said former Masters champion Bob Golby. I said I'd eat crow if cheeseburgers were actually served. I thought it was a joke, but they were delicious. They still have not touched the course yet. This is pre-Tiger proofing. It's still going to play at 6,925 yards. The 13th hole is 485 yards. This is, as I said, sort of a time where controversy abounds around surrounding Tiger. He and his father and their agent, Hughes Norton, were featured on the cover of Golf World magazine in the lead up to the Masters. And the headline was "The Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost." I don't know why, like, Hughes Norton could be referred to as the third part of the Holy Trinity, but the Golf World gets so many angry letters and faxes, by the way, that they have to issue an apology to their readers. Unfortunately, our attempt at cleverness fell flat with many readers. The cover generated more mail, all of it negative, than any in recent memory. We regret any offense that it may have caused. Soly, this week is also on Showtime the debut of The Tiger Woods Story, a movie biopic directed by LeVar Burton. This is a big deal. It is going like all around. Every newspaper is writing about, how it will treat Tiger's life. I'm not going to tell you that I watched all of it, but I actually really would like to watch a lot of it and maybe go back and maybe have like a live viewing of this movie because the comedy potential is very, very high. This is Earl Woods. Earl is looking pretty sweet as this famous actor. I think his name is David Keith. He's been in a bunch of stuff. He's pretty awesome throughout the sort of thing. He's maybe the one thing. So this is pretty low budget movie. It is not exactly like holding up to the standards that we would think of Showtime quality TV. This is the ninth hole at Augusta depicted here. If you're listening on the podcast, there are people.
Go find the YouTube
surrounding. Go find the YouTube first of all. But there are people sort of basically almost standing on the ninth green. There is a strange like pedestrian bridge just right of the ninth green.
You can tell they sent all the extras. Doug, we need you in the background of this one shot right here across this canyon.
Every aspect of Tiger's life in this movie is depicted, and we've actually arranged a clip here of what I think is the funniest part of the film here. This is depicting one of Earl's 2 tours in Vietnam where he was a Green Beret, Colonel Earl Woods. Right prior to this clip, Earl and his platoon basically take cover in kind of a jungle area. The communications specialist, whose name is Fong, real life person, close friends with Earl Woods, not a real life person obviously, but depicted as like his real life friend, says he needs time to recharge the battery, and Colonel Woods says, all right, everybody get some sleep, and it starts to rain here, and then this unfolds.
Be perfectly still. And you used to say I was a bad shot.
You'll never get any more lip from me. In fact, Tiger, I'm gonna name my next kid after you. Whether it's a girl or a boy.
Bumwood has a nice sound.
Not Bong. Tiger.
Tigerwood. Yeah, much better.
So if you didn't see that, if you're not watching on the YouTube, a snake comes out of the jungle and is almost ready to attack a sleeping Earl Woods. And Fong says, Earl, be still, and whips out his pistol and shoots the snake And then Earl says, as a sort of thank you, he's going to name his first child Tiger Woods.
Just knowing that it's low budget, all the details of it are so funny. Like the clear flash, like you're supposed to be lightning. Like the flashes are just like a camera flash. The fake steak in there too. I'm 100% going back and watching this movie.
One more thing I wanted to start at. It does depict the infamous incident where Tiger was part of a GQ photo shoot and story where Charlie Pierce, who's a very famous author, sort of one of my friends and heroes, growing up a magazine writer, Tiger tells some off-color jokes about the little rascals and taking off a condom with his shoes, sort of, like very kind
His
of
favorite
dumbass, like 21-year-old humor. And it depicts Charlie Pierce basically saying like, oh, that's not off the record, whatever. This is what Charlie looks like in the movie. This is the reporter who's like, hey man, you're Tiger Woods. That's never off the record. This is what my friend Charlie looks like in real life. So Hollywood did wonders
Glow
for
up.
Charlie. Yeah, it's probably the one person who came out looking great in this. Absolutely love my man Charlie. Great writer, famous writer for Esquire for many years. But yeah,
I've never heard of this movie. Didn't know it existed. Didn't know any of this. Like, but prior to you sending this over earlier today, I was flabbergasted by this.
I really do think it would be fun for us to sit and watch this because it's kind of like, it's really low budget, hilarious. And it gets like reviewed in every single paper, like talking about, and Tiger, of course, comments on it. He's not happy about it. It pretty much sucks because I had no control over the movie. Someone writes an unauthorized book, someone does a movie out of it. That's wrong. I will never see it. So Tiger, obviously, big talk of pretty much every sort of thing in the lead up to the Masters. Augusta resists any talk that they are interested in Tiger-proofing the layout. There are always going to be ongoing discussions regarding possible changes to our golf course, said Augusta Chairman Jack Stevens. However, we would never make changes because of one player or one tournament. Yeah, we'll see if you stick to that, guys. It turns out you pretty much rearranged the entire golf course to make sure he didn't win like 10 jackets.
Which I still don't understand the strategy of again, especially with the racial stuff going on with the club in this time period of like, I don't know if we need to like make it so the black guy can't win the tournament or I don't know.
Anyway, so Butch Harmon is, of course, Tiger's coach at this point. He's predicting that Tiger will shoot in the 50s one day at Augusta, which I had never heard before. I think that was kind of interesting. Didn't ever come close, but just an interesting thing. Jack Nicklaus says that they've already changed the golf course for one golfer, Jack Nicklaus. They changed the golf course in the mid-60s because of me, Nicklaus says in an Associated Press story. I won the tournament 3 out of 4 years, and they put in bunkers to try to restrict where I could hit the ball. Now those bunkers are all obsolete. You know that saying, Soly, if you ain't bragging, if you can back it up, that's kind of Nicklaus here. He said, I always feel like if I played well, I had to have some really bad breaks to lose at Augusta. With my length, the hazards weren't there. I hit it over everything. It's the same as he does. Nicklaus opposes growing the rough at Augusta, which he believes will take away from the recovery shot. He advocates rolling back the golf ball 10 to 20%, which he thinks will sort of make the course. Yeah, 1998.
That's aggressive in 98. Yeah. Well, we'll get to some of that around the U.S. Open, by the way. Also, around the U.S. Open, Jack Nicklaus talking about himself and making somebody else's performance about himself. That rings true for every year in the history of golf. It really is remarkable.
So Woods actually admits in the discussion, they talk about, what it would be like to see the champions locker room. And he's like, oh, I've actually seen the champions locker room. He and Trip Keeney actually snuck down into the champions locker room when they were amateurs. He says, Tripper and I were just hanging out and we were bored and we decided to take a walk and check out the champions locker room. Tiger said he was surprised to find that there was a computer in there, quote, because of the average age of all those guys being kind of old. I would love to know what kind of computer was in there. Of course, this is only 2 years removed from Greg Norman almost winning the Masters, and it is still sort of haunting him. He's kind of battling a shoulder injury at this point. Everybody is sort of saying, maybe Greg's time has passed. One of his close confidants says to the media, I think it was Ron Syrek, if there's one tournament Greg wishes he could win, it's the Masters. It kills him that he can't go in the champions locker room. It kills him that he can't go to the champions dinner. It kills him that Nick Faldo can play the Masters for the rest of his life and he can't.
kills him so much he's going to burn down professional.
So were there any downstream? They're thankful there was no downstream effects of all of that weighing on Mr. Norman.
Yeah, we could just if we could go back in time, maybe maybe have that one chip not go in for maybe just let Greg have a Masters and things would be quite different. Fuzzy does start to talk a little bit as the week goes on. Soly, I'm sure you'll be stunned to hear that he will not let go of his bitterness over the 1997 version of being canceled. He continues to blame the media.
Oh,
this is a person who gave this interview on camera, by the way. It's not like he said this to a friend and someone overheard it. And in the Tiger Woods situation of off the record versus on the record, he gave this interview to a local media reporter on camera underneath the big fucking oak tree. He says, "I didn't write it, boys. You're the ones who buried me, and I appreciate it." As the dinner got closer, he continued to be bitchy about it. He says, "It'll never die. They're beating on me right now for Augusta, and they're beating on me since California. And I won't mention anything. I won't say a word. I'll just keep telling him who won. Hey, Tiger won. Congratulate him. Go talk to him." You might also not be surprised to learn that John Daly is mad that Fuzzy has been canceled. You might just feel like maybe those two should just play some practice rounds together or something, because it's just gotten crazy how out of hand this has gotten. Asked if he wanted to talk about the incident after the Champions Dinner, Fuzzy snapped at reporters again. "I'm not saying a word. No, no, no. It'll be a cold day in hell before I talk." Jack Stevens, the chairman, says for what it's worth, he enjoyed Tiger's Champions Dinner. "I had a nice cheeseburger. It pairs good with wine." On Tuesday, before the tournament kicks off, the Masters dedicates a plaque to Jack Nicklaus, commemorating
I
his
thought they were going to commemorate it for Fuzzy Zeller for where he had the quote. I'm sorry.
Commemorating Jack's 6 Masters wins. During the ceremony, Jack tears up. Jack Stevens makes sure to note that they left a little room on the plaque just in case Nicklaus wins a 7th green jacket. Everybody kind of laughs. There's no way this is serious. Jack's 58 years old. I did not know this, Soly, but in my research, I learned that this year, Tom Watson has had quite a strange effect on a lot of different things in Augusta. It was apparently Tom Watson who convinced Augusta to let them use their own caddies because, remember, up until 1983, they had to use the local caddies. Apparently in 1982, or in 83, excuse me, Horde Harden, the chairman of Augusta, Watson went up to him. Harden was a very famous trial lawyer in the South. And Watson basically said that preparing to play Augusta without your own caddy was like preparing for a trial without your legal secretary. And Horde agreed with this logic and then decided to change basically 50 years of tradition and let players use their own caddies. So just one other kind of anecdote in there. Ernie Els saw himself on a magazine cover prior to the Masters earlier that year and said he felt he looked fat. And so he decided to lose 15 pounds. Been there, Ernie. I've been fighting that my whole life. Round 1 kicks off. Sam Snead is back to hit the ceremonial tee shot, even though he had a stroke. He does a waist high kick, like Gary Player used to do to sort of show everyone that he was fine. So
used to do. Gary still does that.
Yeah, that's true. Gary's still rocking the waist high kick. I forgot about that. Our solo leader on day 1 is Fred Couples. He leads at 3 under. He's the only player to break 70. He made 7 birdies on the day, 4 bogeys. And on the 12th, he hit a tee shot that, like when the year he won, landed on the bank and trickled back and stopped. Which, man, how did Jordan Spieth not get this break? Couples got it multiple times in his life. Couples takes off his shoe and sticks his foot into Rays Creek and hits the shot. Hits it up there. Does not quite make the par putt like he did in 92, but saves a stroke and ends up shooting 69. Quite the crazy circumstance. Someone calls in a death threat to Tiger in the first round, which per his wishes, he wanted to be told about this kind of stuff whenever it happened. So the officials pull him aside on the 13th tee to tell him that there's been a death threat against his life out there. Tiger goes ahead and just birdies the hole. It's just kind of fucking normal shit in the day.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what Earl, he trained me for that back in the day. They would make death threats to me in my backswing.
Well, there's a lot of snakes out there in the jungle, and sometimes you how to be on your game. One of the stories of the day is 66-year-old Gay Brewer fires a 72. Brewer, the 67 Masters champ, hadn't made the cut since 1983. Sports Illustrated, in their sort of wacky, loving puns, said that his name sounded like the title of a niche magazine. His average drive, Apologies to all the gay brewers out there. His average drive was 213 yards.
Oh my God.
It's the lowest round ever shot by someone 65 or older. So take that, Gary Player. 19-year-old amateur Matt Kuchar is sort of the talk of the first round. He is just grinning his face off. One of the things I remember most about this Masters is just how much Cooch was just like constantly smiling. Everyone was like, "Oh, what a great young man! Like he's just wonderful. He's going to be around this game for many years to come." He's 19 at this point. He actually writes, he writes a diary for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution about what it's like to play in the Masters at age 19. And so you can see on the screen here, says that the crow's nest is cooler than sleeping in the Georgia Tech dorms. I would hope so.
Yeah.
He says that he had to beg his Georgia Tech professors to let him slide on some homework for this week.
Cooch's, he comes up in the U.S. Open. His golf swing looks completely different than it does for the most of his career. I did not even recognize it. I don't know how really to describe it. It's way more fluid. It's just, looks absolutely nothing like what he's invented himself into.
His alligator arms deal. I mean, the dude's made a lot of money, so
obviously
right choice for him, but
just
aesthetically, different deal. Ben Crenshaw shot 83 in the opening round and said afterwards to the media, "I need an ambulance. I was terrible today. I had no confidence from the start. I was totally inept." Ben, we thank you for giving such good quotes. You always give good quote. Spain's Ignacio Garrido made an 11 on the 15th hole, hit 3 balls in the water. Weather delays kind of delayed the opening round by 90 minutes, so 10 players didn't finish. As you can probably remember, they repaired after round 1.
That's right.
And so it turns out who gets paired together in round 2? Tiger Woods and Fuzzy Zeller. Also Colin Montgomery.
No way.
Yes.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, you could not script this. Also paired with them is Colin Montgomery, who, as you remember, has talked some shit about Tiger throughout his career, including during the 97 Masters, where he was basically like, oh, he's too wild of a driver to kind of keep this up, and then had to eat crow. So they keep, this subject is like the thing.
Well, did that come up? It came up during this part?
Yes. The press, of course, is like super interested, as anyone would be, but neither Tiger or Fuzzy want to talk about it. Fuzzy's basically not talking about it at all. Tiger is even kind of weary of it. Press keeps wanting to talk about it and write about it. No offense, but it's in your control. It's in your ballpark. Fuzzy and I buried it long ago. Fuzzy finally says after the round, "It's not a big deal. He's a person just like everybody else, boys and girls." And then he goes, "Oh, excuse me, I forgot. It's not politically correct to say boys. I meant gentlemen." Fuzzy is followed around all day by a fan with a hat that says "Fuzzy, you demand," and it has the Kmart logo with a circle and a crossed out
they
on it
dropped
because Kmart had dropped Fuzzy that year. So you can see the echoes of like I don't want to be canceled for what I'm saying in this era.
Just so much remorse, really, flowing from Fuzzy there too.
Yeah. Gary Player makes the cut, the oldest man to ever make the cut. As you can see here, Gary is wearing his belt all the way up around his nipples, just about. He must be wearing like a 26 inch belt. I mean, this is such a fit man. I think that belt might not fit around my neck, Soly. That is just incredible. I'm so in awe. It never ever ceases to amaze what more shit I can find about Gary Player. He says, "I will always enjoy the challenge of a great wind. It was like I was playing again in my 20s. What a thrill." He signed a ball for a young kid just off the 18th green and then said, "You can tell everyone that was signed by the oldest man to ever make the cut at the Masters." Vijay Singh obviously has not won a major yet at this point, but playing as consistent golf of anyone. His streak of 53 consecutive cuts comes to an end after rounds of 76 and 80. He sort of storms past reporters on his way out and says, "Don't talk to me." Stuart Appleby was forced to putt with his 4-iron after he bent his putter in anger on the 4th hole. He made 3 birdies with his 4-iron over the final 14 holes. Always love stories like that where guys have to putt with something else. Doug Ford, as we remember from the commercials about Doug Ford. This is an uninterrupted broadcast of the Masters. Doug Ford. He shoots
that's
80.
Joe Ford.
You're right. That is Joe Ford. God, I'm sorry. I'm messing up my Fords. Doug Ford, actually former Masters champion. He shoots an 86 on Thursday, and then he fires a front nine 46 on Friday and walks off the course without even telling Ignacio Garrido, his partner. Tiger is just lurking 4 shots back. I love the position I'm in after 2 rounds. Round 3, Paul Azinger, he climbs into contention 2 shots back of Fred Couples, who's still our leader. It's the first time that Azinger has really been in contention at a major since he had treatments for lymphoma on his shoulder blade. I asked him, if it's been too long, if it's been a while, what does it feel like to contend in a major? Paul says, contend in a major? How about contend, period? I couldn't be in contention for my club championship the way I've been playing. Jack fucking Nicklaus is lurking after a 3rd round 70. He says he thinks he has a shot, which draws some laughs from the press corps. Obviously, I'm very proud of the score I got, but I think the competitor in me says, Jack, I don't care what age you are. I think you can play well and win. Whether that's realistic or unrealistic, laugh at me all you want, but I think I have to think that way. It's just the way I am. They asked Tiger if he could imagine competing in, his 40th Masters, which is Jack's 40th straight Masters. Tiger says, I just hope I'm alive at 58. God, no. I can't even fathom being that old. You'll get there, Tiger. It's coming. Everyone is looking at Couples thinking he's going to win his 2nd green jacket. He's leading by 2 strokes, and he is cruising. Right behind 2 strokes is Paul Azinger, Phil Mickelson, and Mark O'Meara. Round 4 begins. As you know, coverage deck then did not start until 3 p.m. and Jim Nantz opens with one of his most famous lines. Welcome to the final round of the Masters, and you are not going to believe what you are about to see. Jack Nicklaus with his 2nd shot into the par 5. Nicklaus ropes a long iron down on number 2 to the back of the green. Nicklaus almost puts this putt in for would have been an eagle. I mean, it is just like it's about to drip in on the thing. And then on the next hole, he comes up short with his chip, or the 2nd shot. He's sitting right here, and Nicklaus chips in for birdie. Soly, I cannot seriously describe how freaking loud it is.
Oh my God, I've watched it. It's insane, man.
It's crazy. I mean, people say, I remember reading stuff about Rick Riley saying it was like as loud as a football game. It truly is. I mean, on the broadcast, it feels like the cameras are fucking shaking of how people are like thrilled. Nicklaus actually bogeys the 4th, pars the 5th, but then he hits it like stiff on 6 to like 6 feet. And he rolls in the putt, and then he birdies 7. He walks it in. He's only 2 off the lead at this point. I mean, it's freaking Jack Nicklaus. He's 58 years old, and he's like in contention at the Masters. Unreal. Just misses birdie chances on the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. I mean, we're talking about putts that just like drip past the edge. No lip outs, but like really, really close. He bogeys 12. And that kind of sort of puts a damper on him. He always did. He never actually played 12 great. Like even in some of his best rounds, he bogeyed 12. And as we know from the Shanks podcast, hit a shank on the 12th in a year that he finished 2nd to Arnie. Almost made a 3. Almost made a 3 there. Just almost killed Clifford Roberts. And so he birdies 13 and 15. He tells his son Steve, who's it had been Jack Nicklaus Jr. who was on the bag in '86, but his son Steve is caddying for him this time. That if he eagled 15 and he birdied 2 more holes, he'd be right in it. Sadly, no, he can only birdie 15. Didn't make any more birdies. So on 18, he hits it in the fairway bunker, and he hits like the Sandy Lyle shot, just a beautiful like thing that drips down the ridge. Has a putt at it, just barely misses it. But I mean, this is truly the last sort of gasp of Jack as like a great player. Like we get to see him sort of, wave into the fans as just, applause are cascading off the pines there. Rick Riley, I remember wrote an unbelievably fun column kind of talking about like, they left just enough space in his little plaque on the drinking fountain there, just in case like he ever wins one again. And like, who would have thought? Ernie Els actually says after the round, the way he played this year, he might even win it next year. And the writers are like, oh, you're joking, right? And Ernie's like, no, not really. Like, who knows? On Sunday, Soly, we see only 4 shots of Tiger all day. He's wearing this, by the way. This is his Sunday fit.
I had this shirt. I had this one, the red with the gold or the tan sleeves on it. I definitely had this one.
It's too bad that red hats were ruined in general, because I think I like the red hat here looking here with this. Red hat can signify something different these days, but man, like it looks pretty sweet in this fit. As we know, the story here,
Tiger's hat might have been one of those hats that you're referring to, for all we know. So.
For all we know, I don't know what I'm talking about otherwise. So the round is really, the story now is like Couples, Duvall, and O'Meara. Like these are the dudes. Couples is kind of cruising along. Feels like he's the guy. Venturi keeps, and Nance obviously had a really close relationship with Couples. They were friends, they were roommates in college. So you could sort of feel in the broadcast as you're watching it, like this sense of like, oh, this is Fred Couples' crowning achievement. He'd lost both of his parents since he last won in '92. So that comes up with Nance a couple times about how much this would mean for him to win another jacket. On the 13th hole, snappiest of the snappiest hooks into the woods. He has to pitch out sideways, essentially, with a sand wedge. It's lucky to even find it up there. He has to take a drop from a cart path off there. Who even knew that there was a cart path up on like left of 13 Creek there? He's got 162 yards to the green. You're thinking like, whatever, like that's a easy 7-iron for him. He's kind of like a little bit perplexed by what thinks the wind is going to do. He decides to hit a soft 6-iron and launch it way up in the air. Drifts right into Rays Creek, makes double. A couple said afterwards, I may have panicked a little bit. It was a 7-iron shot, but we talked about hitting 6-iron and getting out of here. I think he was just trying to make par. Just want to maybe hit it to the back of the green. I tried to hit it higher and easier, and it just went into the creek. David Duval is the leader at this point. In fact, when he taps in on 15, just barely missing an eagle, he has a 3-shot lead standing on 16 tees. Duval will shoot 67 on this day. Hard to sort of find any fault with anything that Duval does, but
except for
he hits a shit shot into 16. It stays way, way, way up on the ridge, and he's forced to essentially have like a brutal putt coming down the hill. His first putt has to come all the way down the hill. There's no way to stop it, and it rolls almost all the way out to the fringe. He cannot make that putt. The bogey kind of brings everyone back into it.
I know I've referenced this story 85 times throughout the history of this podcast, but that shot, like, is the one that like Bones, one of the several that Bones stored away. Like, remember in '98 when Duval's coming off the hot streak, he had just birdied 15, has a lead and gassed up that shot that eventually leads to Mickelson pulling 8-iron in 04 instead of 7-iron, leaving it underneath the hole, making the birdie that is the difference of them going on to win by 1. Like that, I'm obsessed with that story of just watching guys go long on 16 when they're gassed up and how they put that into play in 04.
Yep. I mean, Xander, the year that Hideki won, too, gasses it long. It's
Xander got wet on 16.
Didn't he get wet? Okay,
that's
right.
He claimed the wind got it, but it did not look like a very good shot.
So Couples makes eagle on 15. He hits unbelievably good long iron shot. I mean, it's awesome to watch Fred Couples hit long irons in this era. I mean, just the tempo is so good. I mean, obviously everybody knows Fred Couples swing, but he hits on Saturday, he'd hit an unbelievable shot and made eagle into 13. And he had said, oh, baby, be right when he hit it. And this time it's almost even better. I mean, he hits it to about maybe 4 feet on 15. And all of a sudden he's tied for the lead. O'Meara makes birdie on 15, so he's 1 shot back. It just doesn't really feel like O'Meara is the dude at this point. It's like it's going to be Duval, it's going to be Couples. At worst, we're going to get a playoff. But O'Meara's just kind of lurking. He just sort of hanging around. Jim Furyk is actually really sort of scraping around too. All of a sudden, he enters the picture by birdieing 16 and 17. Duval hits a great shot into 17, but cannot make the putt. He's just like almost falls to his knees in sort of anguish. And one funny thing is Couples kind of fans his shot right of 16. Left, right on the fringe there, right when you're watching on TV, but left from his perspective. And Jack is in Butler Cabin and he's talking to Bill McAtee at this point. And Bill says, Jack, what does Fred face here? And Jack says, I don't know, Bill, I've never been over there. Just sick. Jack flexing right and left. O'Meara at this point stripes it right down 17 fairway.
Let's pause on that. How many Masters rounds has Jack played at this point? He's played like close to probably 150, 160 rounds. Because he's never, not one of those
Never
rounds,
been left
never in a
on there
practice
on the
round,
frame
never
swing,
went
yeah.
left on 16.
Never long left, never ever once. It's like his famous thing about I used to go the entire West Coast swing without 3-putting once. Like, really? Like on all those POA greens, like you
Yeah.
never ever had a single 3-putt. I'm not sure that would hold up to fact checking, but if you believed
You
it,
believe
like,
that, sure.
that's what you have to tell yourself to believe it. So O'Meara stripes it right down 17 fairway. So does Couples. Couples hits a really good shot in there, closer than O'Meara, but O'Meara makes his putt and Couples just misses. Couples basically walks. I mean, but Couples is like early walk on the putt, like no chance. So we got 3 tied at 8. Duval hits it in the middle of the fairway on 18, hits a good shot into 18, cannot make his putt. So we got 2 guys coming to 18. There's still talking like, oh, this could be Freddie's chance, to win the Venturi's really like into the idea of Couples winning it. There's still like not a lot of talk about O'Meara basically, birdieing the last. So they do bring up that Sandy Lyle did it or Arnold Palmer did it. Like not many people have birdied the last hole to flat out win the Masters. And so Couples hits his drive in the fairway bunker. Right before that, O'Meara stripped his right down the middle and did a little club twirl after.
Oh, he twirled everything.
O'Meara's tempo is so kind of like,
Yeah.
it's not like the prettiest, like, enviable swing, but of this era, just like really like so compact, so perfect, so just like never felt rushed or anything. Really good here. I think we have a little bit of, it's pretty memorable what happens next, but we have a little audio of Mark O'Meara sort of explaining what had sort of went on that week. Soly, he was on the NLU podcast a couple years ago, and I love just listening to him. I think he's really insightful, really sort of, you got all these older guys who they really love kind of telling these stories about, they love sharing details of it. And this is some of the details that I'd never really heard before he was on our pod.
Yeah, this is from March of 2018. Curtis Strange is the other voice you're going to hear in this. This is one of the coolest, most fun interviews I've ever done, by the way.
Then when we came back in 98, like, I'm 41. I've never won a major championship. I'm on that next best list to have never won a major, which is kind of actually a pretty nice list that anybody would think you're that good, because I don't know if I ever really was. And leading up to the tournament, we played practice rounds as we always did. I wasn't hitting it good, Chris. I wasn't putting good. I wasn't feeling very confident. I went out the first day. The wind was blowing. This is before they lengthened the golf course. I shot 74. I remember on the 10th hole, I had about a 8-footer for par. It was an outside left, a cup, and I yipped it. And I'm thinking, I'm yipping them on Thursday on the 10th green. This doesn't bode very well. And I came off the green, and I was all ticked off on 18 and shot 2 over. So I remember Hank Haney was there, and Hank's like, I said, yeah, I'm yipping them. I'm either hitting it good and putting bad, or I'm putting good and I can't hit it good. To win at Augusta, you have to putt well. Win any tournament, you have to putt well, but especially around Augusta National.
You got to iron it well and putt well.
Big time. Big time. I mean, there's just not a lot of room for error, as you pointed out earlier, Chris. And so I went to the putting green, and Hank's like, it looks to me like, your eyes are aiming too far right. Your putter's aiming too far left. You got to get your eyes aiming more left, your putter more open. And I'm looking at him like, are you crazy? Do you understand that these greens are running 14 out here, and you want me to do all this stuff tomorrow? And he goes, well, I said, okay, whatever, Hank. So I went out and I shot 70. I mean, you're just trying to make the cut to play on the weekend, to move up the leaderboard. I shot 70, made the cut, even par. Next day I go out, I'm thinking, okay, just play well enough to try to make the top 24, because that'll get you back in. That was the way it was back then. And I went out, and it was a windy day again, and I believe I shot 4 under par. Next thing you know, I'm in the press room, and I'm going to be in the last group on Sunday with Fred Couples in 1998. And of course, they reminded me in the press room about this list. And I said, look, I don't look at myself as a failure because I haven't won a major championship. When I first got on the tour, I just hoped to make a living, right? And, a lot of things had transpired. So we get out there on Sunday, last group, as Curtis said, you're laid off the first tee, and, you're nervous and this and that. But everything just kind of fell into place, to be honest with you, Chris. I made up, I hit it a pull hook off the second tee, up the tree line, wrecked around the trees, dropped down, didn't go down into the creek. So that was fortunate. Somehow I got it down there, hit it on the green with a 9-iron, and made a birdie. And just everything was happening to where I made a bomb on number 4 from way left of the hole. I was just trying to 2-putt that top right pin placement on number 4. I must have made I was just trying to, but I made a 60-footer. And when things like that start happening, you never think. I remember being not only a player but also a fan, right, watching these events. And I say to people so many times, I wonder how could anybody make a putt on the 18th green at Augusta National to win the Masters? I just don't know how you could do it, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, I don't know how the hell my ball went in either. But lo and behold, we play around, we get to the 16th. Let's see, we're on the back nine. David Duval was playing good. All these guys were playing good. And Fred and I were playing okay, but we were a couple shots back, and we got to number 15, and Fred had hit a good tee shot. Well, actually, it was way right. There was no trees over there. There was just the mounds, and he flipped it up there on the green with a 6-iron, made eagle. I made birdie, and now all of a sudden he's 8 under. David Duval is sitting in Butler Cabin with Jack Stevens at 8 under, and I'm now 7 under. And 16, I hit a good tee shot, hit it on the green, hit a really good putt. I remember it didn't go in, and I remember handing my ball to my caddy, and I said to Jerry Higginbotham, I said, Jerry, that's as good a 6-iron as I could hit, and that's as good a putt as I can hit under this pressure like this. I said, give me a new ball. I'm going to birdie the last 2 holes. Now, really? I didn't believe that. I don't know why that even came out of my mouth. It was ridiculous that I said that, because I don't even know why I said it. But, Chris, I did it. I birdied the last 2 holes, and, I made a really cool putt in the last hole that put me up there in the champions locker room with a green jacket. And, I don't think anybody expected me to win that week, including myself. And sometimes these things happen.
Just a truly awesome finish. I mean, if you want to go out and just take it, that's exactly what O'Meara did. He had to make kind of a curling putt on 17, just to give himself a chance, and then hit it right in the middle on 18 fairway. He hit a great putt. He had a great second shot. That's just, probably about 25 feet, 23 feet, somewhere in there. And then, as you can see, from this, he had to start the ball a good, maybe 2.5, 3 cups right of it. And it just sort of drips right into the cup at the last minute. Just for our humor purposes, Soly. Fred Couples hit his ball in the fairway bunker, and then in trying to go for the green and do the Sandy Lyle, had nipped the lip of the bunker and went, Saddam, and hit it into the greenside bunker. He then hit a really good shot to 4 feet that right before O'Meara's putt. And then so when O'Meara rolls his in,
oh, I remember this.
And Jerry says,
Hold on,
wait a minute. Caddy, get your hat. We have another man who has a very important putt to finish tie for second. So Nance is trying to be like, O'Meara for the win. What a historic thing. And Venturi's like, hold on. Caddy.
Because Couples was the story, right? I mean, they were a little unprepared for this. I remember I went back and watched this, I think, prior to when we interviewed O'Meara, and I got a huge kick out of that. Hold on. There's a putt for second. Just won the fucking Masters, man. Let him run around a little bit.
Great, I mean, he did that when Ian Woosnam made his winning putt, and there was I can't remember who was maybe it was Davis Love or something was trying to finish. Hold on, we got a putt for second place. I mean, in Venturi's era, though, Venturi was an AM for a lot of the time. You had to make that second place money. That second place check might be the difference between riding in your caddy, to down to Hilton Head or flying. So during the green jacket ceremony, he told the Tiger, this is a great detail. They have a very awkward, kind of green jacket sort of exchange where Tiger keeps kind of lifting the jacket, and O'Meara cannot get his arm up high enough. And he said to Woods, he doesn't show it on camera, but Sports Illustrated got it. He said, man, I'm 41 years old. I can't get my arm way up there. Can you lower the jacket?
They're such an odd pair. I mean, it's been written about the theory with Tiger. O'Meara was the only one he let in because he didn't see him as threatening. And, I refuse to believe it's a coincidence that a year after, O'Meara had been hanging out with Tiger and Tiger winning the Masters, that wasn't extremely motivating to him to get out and win 2 majors in 1998. What do you think the odds would have been going into 98 that one of 2 guys between O'Meara and Tiger from Isleworth, one of you 2 is going to win 2 majors this year? What would have been 50 or 100 to 1 for O'Meara maybe to be the guy to do that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple great stories of, and this is not in the big bombing driver era. This is, where they're playing with metal woods, but it's hard to hit the fucking ball 350 yards in this era. And they would play practice rounds, and Tiger would regularly outdrive I remember there was one story that he outdrove O'Meara by 68 yards on one hole, and O'Meara threatened to walk off, and then did walk off when Tiger made a hole in one at Isleworth or whatever, and was like, you know what, F you, like you're just
Day after he
you're
shot
being
59,
ridiculous.
Tiger made a hole in one on the second hole. He shot 59, 13 under, birdied the first, hole in one on the second. He was 16 under par through 20 holes, and O'Meara said, "Peace, I'm out. Here's your 100. I'm not doing this again."
Yeah,
that was 97.
So that day when O'Meara got dressed, I never heard this before. He put on black pants originally, and then decided to change them to the olive pants that he wore because he thought it would go better with the green jacket in case he win. Just kind of a nice flex. A couple just sort of other notes here in the final round. David Toms, in playing in his first Masters, he lived TC's dream. He made 6 consecutive birdies. He birdied the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, and 17th. So TC, that's something for you to get out there and be inspired by. As David Toms make 6 birdies in a row more often. That's your new goal.
It was 5. 5 was his thing.
Yeah. So, and Steve Rushin wrote in the lead to this in Sports Illustrated was, your new Masters champion is a multimillionaire who loves cheap motels, endorses Rogaine, and suffers so badly from male pattern blandness that one man approached him at dinner in Augusta this week, shouting, "Mark McCumber, you're Mark McCumber." Sorry, O'Meara said, "I'm Mark O'Meara." And again, one of the great trivia questions of all time, the year after Tiger Woods won the Masters by 12 shots, what did Jack Nicklaus finish in 1998? T6, and Tiger finished T8. It's truly like some goat shit.
Yes.
Maybe the most remarkable Jack Nicklaus statistic of them all, and there are many.
That's one of my favorites. That's one. People know it now, but that used to be. I think I probably tweeted that one out 6 different times back in like 2017. But just bringing that
engagement
one.
sequence.
Oh yeah, for sure. The original engagement.
It's like when you post that picture of John Daly kissing his third wife and the naked guys running.
Oh,
every
it's the
time
best.
you see that, yeah, you just try
to open
Uber up
championship
those
week.
engagements.
It's the only way to use Twitter these days. The way Shane Ryan does it, of just pure irony, just to piss people off, is the only 2 ways to do it, I say.
Folks, the NBA is back, and FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, wants you to catch all the action. Because right now, FanDuel is giving everyone 3 months of NBA League Pass. All you have to do to catch every tip-off and buzzer beater is place any $5 bet on the NBA. Personally, lifelong Laker fan here, I like to check out kind of what Redick's got going on. I want to see if Bronny's really like a Nepo baby. Does have anything here? Also, I cannot stand the Celtics. I swear to God, I do not want them to repeat. Respect them, but I just can't get behind it. How about the Cavs though? Starting the season undefeated, really, really impressive. A lot of fun, feisty teams in the NBA this year. Hope you get to check them all out. So next time you get a hunch on who's going to win or how many points a player will score, you can watch your picks come to life live. Just visit FanDuel.com/NLU to get 3 months of NBA League Pass, courtesy of FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Back to the show.
For 1998 United States Open, I'm sure you know this. Do you know where we're going?
We are going to Olympic Club. Is that right?
We are going to the lake course at Olympic Club, 6,797 yards. It is astonishing. 97 yards longer than it played for the 1955 U.S. Open that Jack Fleck won.
Players are more athletic now, so
97 yards up, though. I mean, that over a 33-year period, three yards a year. It's just, things are spiraling out of control. It is a $3 million prize fund, $535K going to the winner in 2024 dollars. That is $5.7 million, and just over $1 million going to the winner. The actual 2024 U.S. Open purse was $21.5 million, with $4.3 going to the winner. Top 3 places and almost the 4th pay more than the inflation-adjusted amount from 1998. Thank you, Mr. Tiger Woods, who, of course, is the favorite coming into this week at plus 700. Before I get into the odds, my little trivia question. Usually I end up with the Masters on this to ask this part of it. June 20th, around then, 1998, how many of the top 10 in the world can you name? We'll do this Stump the Schwab style. You're out when you name somebody that's not in the top 10. It's helpful that you've just covered the Masters and the PGA as well.
Tiger Woods.
That's correct. He's number
Ernie
1.
Els.
He is number 2.
I'm going to guess that O'Meara is in the top 10 at this point.
He is 10th. You are still alive, but barely.
Nick Faldo.
No,
No!
Faldo's toast by then. Tiger ended him in 97. That was
I
it.
would've thought he was still
That's your
racking
one
up
lifeline.
European-
No, you can keep going. You can do better than that.
David Duval.
David Duval is 6th. That is correct.
Davis Love.
Davis Love is 3rd. That is correct. There's 3 easy ones here, one kind of hard one, and there's 4 easy ones here.
I got to think Mickelson is ranked in the top 10.
You are correct. He is 7th.
All right. Yeah.
Who else almost just won the Masters?
Fred Couples.
That is correct.
Okay, so how many am I? That's
You
7?
need 4, 5, and 8. You've got 7 of them. Yeah.
All right. Got to think Norman is no longer ranked in the top 10 at this point. Particularly he's not been playing well all year.
Sure about that? You sure about that?
All right, Greg
Norman?
Greg
Norman is 4th. Norman is 4th. Yes.
Crooked rankings. Crooked.
I'll drop you some hints on this one. Famous for rabbit ears, but didn't no major championships to this guy's name, but
Monty.
Yeah, Monty, of course. And then a 97 major winner at Troon just the year prior. He's still in the top 10.
Justin Leonard.
As Justin Leonard. That is the top 10. Payne Stewart is ranked 40th in the world, and Lee Janzen is 42nd. Tiger's the favorite at plus 700. Duval and Els at 800. Love and Couples plus 1,200. Leonard and Mickelson 1,800. Monty, Furyk, and O'Meara are plus 2,000. Janzen, Kalk, Scott Hoke, Lee Westwood, and Jesper Parnevik plus 2,500. And Payne Stewart is plus 3,000. So, it's been a pretty vibey year on the PGA Tour up to this point. Couples has won twice this year and is leading the money list. Of course, almost won the Masters. Tiger had a little bit of a dry spell, but he won the Bell South in May. The winners post-Masters pre-US Open. So since your tournament you just covered, Davis Love III, David Duval, Tiger Woods, John Cook, Tom Watson won his 39th and final career win at Colonial. Couples wins the Memorial. Lee Westwood has won twice in June on the European Tour. The golf world is just vibing heading into Olympic. Of course, summer of 98, as we mentioned, is the home run chase. Fantastic graphic package for the Olympic Club. And our guy Dan Hicks, of course, is bringing us in with the 98, the USGA film that they always do on these, which is kind of course, a source for a lot of the information on this.
God, I love how suits fit back then.
Yeah.
Some boxy shoulders, some long. You can't see the cuffs of anybody's shirt because the sleeves are all the way down to the field. We get that guy on Twitter, Derek Guy, whoever. I would love to have him critique some golf fits back in the day.
Hicks has been doing it. All these are a reminder of how long Hicks has been doing this, by the way. But this is, of course, a 90s U.S. Open. So what can you tell us about 90s U.S. Opens? What is the prevailing thing that is around for all of these U.S. Opens? It's setup-wise, Kev.
It's got to be like super thick, rough, and narrow fairways.
We are going to have rough and we are going to have narrow fairways. 5 to 6 inch rough off the fairways here at Olympic. Of course, hopefully, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see some of these images up here. On Thursday, of course, a marine layer greets the players on this cool day. Tiger in a crispy fit in the white vest, kind of gray pants, white hat. I loved kind of this thing that Tiger had going on with the white shoes on this one, but he is putting here for bogey. He missed that, made double. He shot 74. If you're watching this again, he's got a 3-foot putt for bogey, and it goes about 8 feet by. Yeah, there are some questionable little pins, which we're going to get to on some of this. He missed this actually putt for double and shoots the 74. Payne Stewart in his traditional getup, of course, just every time it did come on, it made me laugh. Just he's got black pants, black socks, black shoes, black hat, and a red and black plaid long sleeve shirt on.
Like half ninja, half Scotsman here. Like he's gonna, I don't know, like with Tom Cruise, he's gonna rob a bank or something in the middle of the night. So he's got half his outfit on, but then decided he's went shopping in Ayrshire for the rest of it.
He gets out to a 1-shot lead over the late Mark Carnival by shooting a 4 under par 66. He makes a 45-foot putt, bomb birdie putt on the 17th hole, and he pretty much does the Harlem Shake. I mean, if today somebody would have done a dance like this on the green, there would have been columns written about it. But the 640 mark of the highlight film, if anyone wants to go back and watch that, I couldn't really get the images for that to do it justice. But T3 are Joe Durant, Tom Lehman, and Jose Maria Olafable. Bob Tway at 2 under. John Daly, Jeff Maggard, and Jesper Parnevik are at -1 in T7. Tom Kite, Matt Kuchar, the amateur, Colin Montgomery, Andrew McGee, David Ogren, and Mark O'Meara are in the top 10, rounding that out. Here, this is the image of Payne doing the Harlem Shake or whatever this was after rolling in the ball and birdie putt. Here is the young amateur Matt Kuchar, who is featured pretty heavily through the course of the next several days.
One anecdote, I want to share with you is when Cooch finished like in the top 20 at the Masters, they said, do you ever wish you could have turned pro? That you would have made like $40,000. And he was like, oh, that's a lot of money. Even then, Cooch was like, oh, he's counting his nickels, making sure that he's going to get paid someday. But no, he was happy to be an amateur for a little longer.
Do you remember what else 98 was famous for? I'm going to give a shout out to my guy, a friend of the program, Rick, who's a big listener of our deep dives. I ran into him at a media day yesterday, and he was like, when is the next deep dive? I'm like, hey, we're doing 98 tomorrow. And he was like, oh, Olympic Club. That's going to be Payne Stewart, the divot, and all that. And he filled this in with another thing that 98 was famous for. Do you remember this?
I do not. I feel like you probably
broad question I'm asking you, but
you might get to like, isn't Payne like completely bitch out an official at some point because of a pin placement? Is that coming?
Yeah, we'll get to that. But Casey Martin is the first player to use a golf cart in a national championship. I'm actually not going to go deep into that whole saga, but that was a big buzz around, using I believe it was the American Disabilities Act is in the legal case that was going on for him to be able to use
Supreme Court.
Yeah, it was a big deal. But so Casey Martin is the first to be. He's shown here on the screen of driving a golf cart down a fairway at the U.S. Open. That is the first that happens.
It's always funny that they couldn't, like, your bag couldn't ride on the golf cart.
Yes,
right? The caddy had to actually carry the bag, but you could ride in the cart. It was whatever. This
is the late Mark Carnival, just passed away recently here, actually in Ponte Vedra. But he was a former PGA Tour Rookie of the Year, and he was prevalent in the early part of this week's tournament. Again, here is the day one leaderboard. And with Carnival just one shot behind Payne Stewart. Friday, we get there, and Jack Nicklaus is putting from 40 feet on the 18th hole. He has this putt to make the cut, but he's going to lag it up there and just probably move into the booth for the weekend. No, he fucking makes it on 18 and is going to be playing the weekend at Olympic Club, again, at the age of 58. That dude just continued to absolutely stunt on people. Here is what Payne's got rocking on this Friday. Now we are in plaid pants with the red hat and the white socks, white shoes, white polo to go with it. And he comes out hot. Birdies the first 3 holes. It is 6 in a row dating back to round 1. He's 7 under. He leads by 4.
He ends digging the graphics here that NBC.
Oh, the graphics package is awesome. It's so good. This is weirdly nostalgic through all this. But he gives back several shots throughout the course of the day. He is putting from 10 feet for birdie here on the 18th hole on this Friday. Tons of people up on this hill. It is a scene for a Friday
rock concert.
Exactly. He is just really good look here for birdie. What happens next? He misses the putt. It falls low. He blames a spike mark, whatever it is. The ball is still moving. And it ends up rolling and rolling and rolling, and it takes forever. And Stewart thinks it's going to stop maybe 12 feet away. It keeps going. He gets to the bottom of the hill and just sits there with his arms crossed.
Chewing his gum, right? Isn't he chewing gum at the time?
Yeah. Like just watching it posing. It's still rolling. It's still going. It's still going. He just stands there just in disbelief as it keeps going. And it rolls all the way back. And he misses the putt, and he finishes the day leading by 2, or I'm sorry, leading by 1 after making bogey.
Outrageous.
David Fay.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't want to interrupt because I feel like he chewed out somebody, but maybe.
They said they were not happy at the USJ with what happened. John Daly would say if they want to have a major, we can go to Disney World and play putt-putt. Apparently the 18th green was super firm on Thursday, so everyone was playing short on Friday, only to find out that they watered the green Friday morning. That was different than the rest of them. On top of that, Stewart still leads with the 1 over par. 71. Maggard and Tway are 1 back. Lee Janzen shoots 66 to move within 2. So this is from John Garrity about this pin position in Sports Illustrated. The upper portion of the green where the hole was placed on Friday is pitched at an angle close to that assumed by the Titanic just before it went down. Frank Nobile. I got a good kick out. Frank Nobilo
Some of those old sports writer lines are bangers. I'm telling you. Pirates.
bridging the boat to Frank Nobilo made me really cackle.
I will say, I don't know if we've talked about this, but at some point with our Frank Nobilo line about Italian pirates, whatever, his daughter quote tweeted it and was like, "Oh, that's because he's so handsome," whatever. And I was like, "Oh, that's great." Frank's a regular like NLU reader. Really enjoy his work. So glad that the Nobilo family took that in the good humor that it was intended.
I was really hoping that it was going to go, again, the line is assumed by the Titanic just before it went down. Frank Nobilo, I was hoping it was going to come up with walk the plank again. Nobilo rolled a long birdie try up the hill and watched his ball roll back 25 feet. Tom Lehman four-putted. Kirk Triplett, like a second grader at putt-putt, stopped his retreating ball with his putter and drew a two-stroke penalty. Daly said it's not golf and it's not fair. It's just stupid.
Maybe that's where Phil got the idea for just
very well may have been.
Just hoop it, like to take the two strokes and come out one stroke ahead. It was Phil's logic at
which again he could have taken an unplayable and avoided all of that and gone back to that spot. Anyways, Garrity also writes that the construction of Payne's mansion in Florida a few years ago distracted him from the game and led to the suspicion that he would rather live like a pharaoh than go to work on the fairways.
Hell yeah, God.
Carnival shoots 73 to fall back into even, and the cut is at +7, and only 60 players advance to the weekend. This is 10-stroke rule time period. Usually we're talking at this time period of, there's like some U.S. Opens in this time period where 100 people made the cut, but there was only 60 guys that made the cut onto the weekend. Tiger takes 65 putts through 2 rounds here on this Friday. When he misses this putt, he absolutely slams the green with his putter, in anger after having missed this one, Tom Kim style. And so here is our leaderboard. Stewart by 1 over Maggard and Tway. Kuchar, the amateur, at the halfway point, just 2 shots back. Lee Porter, statistically the worst putter on the PGA Tour. They made sure to point that out in the video as well. He's at 1 under, along with Janzen and Carnival at even. So on to Saturday. Stewart opens the round by making eagle at the par 5 first. He leads by 4 at -3 after shooting even on this day. I got a kick out of this one. Jeff Maggart's wearing his credential up on the collar of his shirt. I don't know why I found that so comical, but not a ton else happens on that Saturday other than to say big lead for Stewart by 4 over Lehman and Tway and by 5 over Nick Price and Lee Janzen heading into the Sunday.
Man, 4 shots in the U.S. Open.
Yeah, we're good. We got this.
Yeah,
we totally got this.
Definitely not gonna. Cooch.
Kuchar gets serenaded. It is his 20th birthday. They sing to him on the opening tee. Tom Lehman and Payne Stewart are paired together. I just want to shout out one. Tom Lehman's swing. They show the two of them on the range. Never the most aesthetic looking swing from behind. They show him from this side angle. My guy was fluid. I mean, it is a very, very, very nice golf swing. Yeah. And that's all to say, this is his 4th straight final pairing on a U.S. Open Sunday. For a guy who's, again, part of the reason why we do these deep dives is just not always the guys that win, but who else was the dude in this time period? Who else was around? Who else threatened in a lot of these that history doesn't remember? Like, I think I've gotten a lot of the U.S. Opens in this time period. Lehman is around for all these and is in the final pairing yet again.
I mean, you can make a case. People kind of come at me sometimes when I say this, but like Phil Mickelson's one of the great U.S. Open players of all time. The fact that he didn't win one does not discount the fact that like finishing second 6 times makes him one of the best U.S. Open players of all time. And I don't think you can quite get there with Lehman, but you could definitely say he was one of the best U.S. Open players of his era.
Sure, 100%. On the way to the first tee, I don't really remember this, and couldn't find a whole lot written about it or a perspective on it. Payne looks not right on his way to the first tee. He's really muted. He's not really acknowledging the fans, whatnot. And while walking under a grandstand, he's kind of like looking around for something, and he's walking under the grandstand, and he reaches up and like grabs a rail on it and like dangles from it, feet off the ground for a decently period of time. Wow. I don't know if he's stretching out or if he had a little pain or something like that. I mean, this looks familiar to me for somebody that is battling some sort of back pain that pops up out of nowhere in a very frustrating time period. And they don't reference it really, or he doesn't like grimace at all going forward, but I never noted that or knew that kind of going into this day.
Come on, sports writers of the day. You really should have been like, if I was me, I would have been walking to the first tee with the leaders and been like, oh, excuse me, you don't want to run into the guy who's hanging from the scaffolding.
I may not have dug hard enough for it as well, so that might be on me as well. Stewart actually ups his lead to 5 early on. As you can see here, through 3 holes, he's 5 clear of Price and Lehman. He's still 6 clear of Janzen. Janzen on 5 here. He is teeing off with his 4-wood. He blows it on this 5th hole into the trees right, and the marshals can't find it. But someone had binoculars and can see it up in the tree. But it's stuck up in the tree. So he starts heading back towards the tee to replay his shot. His ball is considered lost up in the tree. I don't know exactly how that it gets ruled, but before he could get back to the tee, the ball falls out of the tree. Onto the ground.
Wait a minute.
One of the great all-time U.S. Open breaks. He ends up getting up there and chipping in for par on this hole after his ball got lost. He's getting 6 shots back, hits it in a tree, falls out, ends up playing a large role in the way the 1998 U.S. Open was decided.
Wow. We might have to put the NLU investigative team on this, because I'm suddenly skeptical that all that could have happened in 5 minutes, walking all the way down to the thing, walking back, and then.
Well, this was a storyline. So it wasn't, I don't think it was a 5-minute thing, because they could identify the ball.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly if they couldn't determine a place where he could have dropped it. I don't know.
The ball have come to rest though at that point? Like, isn't it like don't you have to, if an outside agency moves the ball, you have to, like the wind or whatever, wouldn't you have to place it back? I mean, I'm not a rules person, so I don't know. I always ask you about these things, so
I don't know the rules as much as I pretend to know them either. Okay. So I don't really know how this would have gone on. Lehman makes a long par putt. I love you, Dan Hicks. But he declares that Lehman is the people's choice to win the U.S. Open. I don't remember that about the 90s. Maybe Lehman was way more popular than I remember.
Yeah,
but
he had those Dockers, he was kind of a grumpy dude. I was a Lehman fan. I definitely remember like my dad and I rooting for him.
Janzen doesn't have like the most like appealing looking vibe going on. I can't do the gloveless look. That just as somebody with glandular issues, that causes a lot of problems for me. The big tailor-made hat, I don't know, I wasn't baggy fits. He just kind of like the quiet personality doesn't like necessarily play that well in the golf circles. I don't think there were a lot of people like desperately pulling for Lee Janzen on this day. But 7th hole is playing 288 yards. He lays up. A lot of guys are laying up on this hole. He does lay up. Yeah. Par 4. It's 288 par 4.
Gotcha.
But guys are laying up, and he ends up laying up and makes birdie. We have Payne ran his birdie putt on 7 about 6 feet by, and then this is his par putt, his look up the hill to save par on 7, and he doesn't even get it to the hole from like 6 feet, like a really, really, really bad putt. So now our leaderboard's starting to get a little bit more interesting, a lot more interesting. Payne Stewart is only up by 3 over Lee Janzen. And look, I don't want to say Janzen was all luck on this day, but the ball falling out of the tree might not have been the most lucky break he got on this day. He pulls one left into the rough with his approach on 11, like up onto this hill that I'm showing here in this left rough, and it banks that way. But like again, this rough is extremely thick. Like you're not planning on bouncing balls in the rough. And I mean, it goes to 8 feet for birdie. Instead of like having a death up and down and probably making bogey, he now makes birdie. And instead of being short sided, he walks off with birdie.
I remember this. This was kind of in the era when I was watching all the majors, and I remember thinking like, what an unbelievably ridiculous break. Like I was not rooting for Lee Janzen. I probably was pulling for Tom Lehman at very worst like Payne Stewart. But it was like, man, I don't know a ton about golf, but I was like, that is not a normal friggin' thing. I don't remember the tree thing, but I definitely remember that kick.
Well, and then with what happens with Stewart later on, it's just like, man, that was just a little. The ball could have bounced very differently in a lot of different ways on this day, but that's why we're reliving it. Janzen steps up, stuffs it on 13, makes a birdie. It's his 4th birdie in his last 10 holes. He has gone from +4 all the way back to even. Payne Stewart's going the opposite way. His lead is down to 1. Kind of all over the place. He's driving in the rough. He's missing greens. It's just not going great. But he gets to 12, steps up, and he stripes it. All right, let's go. It's been a tough day so far. But we're right down the middle. We've been scrambling, but that one felt good. Right down the middle of the fairway. It rolls and rolls and rolls on the side hill and falls into a sand-filled divot. Around this time, Janzen steps up, hits a great one into 15. He's missed 1 green since the 5th, which is a good way to play U.S. Open Sunday golf. Stewart comes up way short out of the divot into the bunker, makes a bogey. Now everybody is tied, and we are at even par. Stewart still has 6 holes to play. Janzen just has 3 holes to play. I forgot about this. Stewart's group is out of position, and Stewart took over 40 seconds to play that shot on the 12th. So they're warned that another violation is going to be a 1-shot penalty because they're out of position and they're being timed on shots now.
I can't understand why the guys wouldn't love the USGA like back in this era. Why did that relationship go sour for the players in the USGA?
Stewart's bleeding out. He can't hold the 13th green. He makes bogey. It's the 4th straight green he's missed. He bounces back with a birdie on 14. And then Janzen makes a really nice par on 17. It's a 468-yard monster, one of the hardest holes in championship golf. And that was considered a monster par 4 in this era, 468 yards. It's a par 5 converted into a par 4. You know, they show Lee's dad, Larry, is waiting there on the 18th tee as he gets there, always, of course, playing up the
Larry.
The Father's Day element of this one always gets me for U.S. Open.
I like the shirt Larry's got going on.
Payne makes a mess of the par 5 16th. He's hitting his 4th from the front bunker. He can't get up and down. Bogey on a par 5. Now he's down 1 with only 2 holes remaining. Janzen hits a great approach into 18, just past the front pin. He has 2 putts. He gets it in at even par. I mean, again, one thing that Olympic Club 18th Olympic Club gives you is like a scene. Another like Sunday scene of all the people there up on that hill. Stewart's in the middle of the fairway. He needs birdie, but birdies have been extremely scarce on 18. He hits a good shot in there, and he's got this look for birdie to get into an 18-hole playoff with Lee Janzen. Great picture-in-picture look
putt, right?
here from NBC, and the putt misses low. It veers left. Lee Janzen wins his 2nd United States Open. He won previously at Baltusrol, where he also pipped Payne Stewart at the post just 5 years prior. He finished, and Stewart finishes 1 back, same margin as victory as the Baltusrol.
There's been some I don't know, maybe historic misses is the right word on 18 at Olympic. It just feels like, I remember Lexi's putt there. I remember when Webb made his putt and won, and then GMAC had a miss there that would have put in a playoff. It's an eerie, cool scene for sure. I'm excited when they go back there.
It's just interesting because the storyline going into all this is how many times the leaders have faltered at Olympic, right? We have the Ben Hogan, Jack Fleck thing. We have Arnold Palmer collapse. It's just and now adding this one to the lore of 4-shot lead on Sunday, it does not end up winning. Stewart would point to his erratic ball striking afterwards, saying he hit 6 fairways. Janzen hit 12. I hit 9 greens. He hit 14. Bingo. That's why I didn't win the golf tournament. So he's doing everything he can to not blame the divot on 12. Janzen made up 7 strokes in 15 holes to win. He shot 68. No other contender shot better than 73 on this day. Not a great week for our guy Monty. There are multiple days worth of reporting of heckling he's received. In the final round, Monty snapped at a heckler. He'd been getting abuse the prior day or prior year on the East Coast, but he thought he'd be safer on the West Coast. Somebody yelled, "Go home, Monty."
Americans are dicks on both coasts. That's it's a myth that East Coasters are more harsh.
And Brookline hasn't even happened yet. Imagine.
That's right.
Somebody else, "Go home, Monty." And he goes, "Who said that?" And a guy claimed it. He goes, "Why?" He's like, "Because of the Ryder Cup." And Monty said, "There's nothing wrong with the Ryder Cup except that you lost." I don't know if that was quite the dig that he thought it was going to be, but he also got a guy kicked out for yelling, "Get in the bunker" on the 6th hole. Earlier in the week, somebody on the 9th hole, somebody yelled, "Monty, you're a prima donna." On the 11th hole, somebody yelled, "Quit crying and make a putt." When he pulled iron on the 7th, the drivable 4, somebody yelled, "Hit it with your purse." After he decided he was going to lay up there on the 7th. Jack makes the Kuchar, great week from Kuchar about himself. Hell, he's better than I was when I was 19. I was missing the cut at the Masters and the U.S. Open.
Not true. Also, didn't Jack almost win a U.S. Open when he was an amateur?
I don't know, but I think when he was 20 maybe, but not 19.
Yeah, okay.
But if you remember, Paul Simpson made a legendary mid-am from the, if you remember, made a brief appearance in a Gasparilla video we did 3 years ago, told me this incredible story. I think we have it on video somewhere. I should have dug it up for this one. Of early on Thursday, he's out, kind of incredible amateur player, but it's out early in the earlier wave and makes a couple birdies and it's leading the U.S. Open. and pulls a tee shot left into a tree. And some spectators there claim that it fell out of the tree and was picked up by somebody. Like multiple spectators say, yeah, it fell out and somebody went and grabbed it. But the ruling, another spectator there claims like, no, it never fell out of the tree. It like got stuck up in the tree. And he had to go back to the tee, replay it, makes a triple bogey, ends up missing the cut by one shot. And like the USGA would not like listen to the appeal of like, no, multiple people said somebody picked up the ball in the left rough, and he ended up having to miss the cut by one shot.
So you got to make like a unanimous decision amongst the spectators there. Got to get like complete consent from everyone. That sounds insane.
I put this in my notes. I don't know where I was really going with this. I thought maybe at the time thought it was more interesting. Earlier in the week, Arnold Palmer was unable to get a table at the Taddock Grill, the famed Taddock Grill. He waited at a nearby bar for 2.5 hours and never got.
Are you shitting me?
Never got it in the restaurant.
Soly, that's a great anecdote. I want to hear like how could you not seat Arnold fucking Palmer at the table?
I don't know if it was
San Francisco. How dare they?
They I guess they speculated that they were, some kind of treatment about celebrities in San Francisco. They don't have the pull that they do here in LA. I don't know. It's a weird kind of bizarre storyline in there, but a weird nugget.
Shout out to Arnie sitting there for 2 hours. I would be if I was Army, I'd storm across the street or whatever and be like, "I'm Arnold Palmer." Like, I want to
give me a fucking table. Something else going on with the USGA in 1998. USGA officials said last month they were concerned that technology was hurting the integrity of the game. They gave a speech on Wednesday and had established that they were starting to a standard to gauge the spring-like effect in golf clubs. The Omaha World Herald teased that this is going to be kryptonite for the 2025 U.S. Open, which is next year. It sounded very, very far off. At the time, that's like me referencing the 2051 U.S. Open right now. Wow. Or maybe I guess 2050 it would be. But all kinds of articles going around there about it. The USGA said it is proposing a test to more accurately measure the spring-like or trampoline effect of a golf ball. They said, we do not believe that the spring-like effect in golf clubs that are presently in use have lessened the skill required to play the game at championships such as the U.S. Open or at the recreational level, said David Fay. He said that a standard for a spring-like effect will be established in the next few months through improved testing and submitted to manufacturers in advance of a meeting this fall. As although the official rules of golf have contained a reference to spring-like effects since '84, the USGA feels it needs to be clarified. The concern is what's around the corner. USGA President Buzz Taylor said, it's quite clear that we're concerned with the future of the game. John Daly's going to weigh in on this. Do you have any guesses as to where John Daly might net out on this one?
Oh, yeah. He's going to be for the Rhoback, right? He's very much like a person who's in control. Love to see love to see us go backwards to persimmons, I'm sure.
I don't believe in slowing down technology. That's what America is all about, is the quote from John Daly. All kinds of other quotes in there. Another article, I cut off the source on this one. I don't remember where this was, but an opinion article. Here it says, no fun. Let's face it. Golf is doing pretty well for itself these days. In fact, it's never been better, more popular, more addicting to millions. One of the big reasons is that the manufacturing industry has kept in step, teasing and taunting the hackers with new and improved ways to hack. For a golfer, there's nothing better than coming back from the store with the club guaranteed to make you drive farther and straighter or the putter to cure your yips. If you couldn't try titanium or blow your vacation money on a golf school or hit the golf shows for the latest secret, what fun would golf be? The whole idea of this game, anyways, chasing the uncatchable. The last time we looked, nobody had ever answered the riddle. A year ago, everyone thought Tiger Woods would win anytime he laced up his Nikes, but the U.S. Open ate his lunch. In fact, there have been different winners in the past 14 major championships. If the USGA wants to do something about it, it can figure out what to do about aluminum bats. I thought the aluminum bat analogy there was kind of like, yeah, that's the perfect analogy for the abuse of technology and all this stuff. But even as in 1998, they were concerned about the future of the game and where distance was heading. Of course, they effectively slowed down the distance gains very soon right after that, and they did not spiral out of control very soon after that. But
a lot of governance being done over the next 20 years.
I laughed so hard when I saw the game's never been in better shape. It's like, man, I think I could find a quote from 2023 on that.
You can't possibly stop now when the game is just finally experiencing a boom, Soly. How dare we roll back anything at this point?
All right. Usually we split these up, but as we mentioned, I'm going to flow right into Royal Birkdale British Open, 7,000 100.
It's like a 36-hole day for you. Here,
I'm exhausted. I'm
just keep on going.
tired of all this
Gonna
talking.
turn right around and get your 36 in while I still get to just, hit that Sunday tea time. I'm settling in. I'm watching shit on TV. You're grinding. It's just you got the bad side of the draw. Sorry.
It happens at the British Open. 7,018 yards, which is actually shorter than it played in 1965 when it played as a par 73. But this is playing as a par 70 for the second time, which is a little bit of a storyline just a bit later on. With the 13th hole, which of course Jordan Spieth made even more famous in 2017, was converted from a par 5 to a par 4. Fun fact, I found out the 1976 Open at Birkdale, 4 of the last 6 holes were par 5s, including 3 of the last 4. 13, 15, 17, and 18 were the only par 5s on the course. And they were all in the last 6 holes. Johnny Miller played them in 4 under par on that Sunday to win by 6 over Seve and Jack in 1976. Now there's just 2 par 5s on the course, the 15th and the 17th. The 15th, of course, is the site of Go Get That. The money, it is a 1.7 million pound prize fund, which is $2.75 million, with $493,000 going to the winner, adjusted for inflation, 5.29 purse, along with $938K going to the winner. Again, compared to this year, the 2024 Open purse was $17 million, with 3.1 going to the winner. Top 3 all paying better, inflation adjusted, than the 1998 purse. Tiger's the favorite, plus 800. Then Duval, Monty, Ernie, and Justin Leonard are plus 1,200. Furyk plus 1,500. Couples, Westwood, and Lehman plus 1,800. Davis, Love, and Phil Mickelson plus 2,200. Parnevik and O'Meara plus 2,200. Price plus 2,500. Daly, Kalk, Faldo, Singh, and Vijay plus 3,000. Matt Kuchar is making his first trip overseas. Had to get a passport for it. Said he'd never seen weather like this before, ever. They kind of do somewhat of a drive-by on him on the range of basically just like, yeah, this dude has no chance. He hits a shot, his hat flies off and in the wind. And it was kind of like, yeah, this guy has no idea how to play links golf. There is another amateur, young amateur.
Birkdale will never break his heart. He'll never be back here to suffer at this place again.
Another young amateur has qualified over at Hillside, just on the other side of the fence from Birkdale. Do you know who this young amateur is?
Gosh, I don't.
You're going to really hate yourself. You definitely know who this person is. He is 17 years old.
17, who would have been in Kuchar's generation?
He's from England. He's from just 40 miles south.
Tommy Fleetwood. Tommy Fleetwood?
No. Who goes ham? It's Justin Rose.
That's right. Oh, I am going to hate myself. Jesus.
The Justin Rose story is going to emerge, and it is not going anywhere anytime soon.
What a shirt that is. If you can't see this on the pod, please go find it, because the Rhoback tiger striped.
It's like a barcode, red and white striped shirt. Jack Nicklaus is missing his first Open Championship since 1962. No. I think it was a hip injury. He had some kind of injury going on at this time period.
He'll get it replaced, I think, in 99. I think in our 99 deep dive about the U.S. Opens, he's back with a artificial hip.
Got it. I believe. The conditions this week are really tough. The rough is up. The wind is whipping. Lee Janzen's caddy says he lost more balls the last 3 days of practice than the previous 4 years he's caddied for him. Tom Lehman loses 6 balls in 8 holes in a Monday practice round. Tiger says, I love this golf course because it's extremely difficult, but it's fair. All the trouble's right in front of you.
Hell yeah.
Tiger and O'Meara take a trip to Ireland prior to the Open. A group of 8 of them go, actually, including Payne Stewart, Dermot Desmond, JP McManus, Fluff, tennis player Todd Woodridge, and a friend of theirs, Mike Gutierrez. They make their way up the West Coast.
Trip. This is great.
They make their way up the West Coast via helicopter. They go to Waterville. They go to Ballybunion. They're playing in 2 4-man groups. They're playing scramble up the West Coast, playing links golf. Yeah.
Scramble.
And this becomes the thing that Tiger does, playing in Ireland prior to Open Championships. And there's a lot of writing about that.
I saw. Do you want to take my shot or Todd Woodridge's shot here?
Let me go. You don't even need a hit, guys. I got this.
I got this.
John Houston and anyone, if you have any guess as to 2 guys open up to a lead on the opening round. They both shoot 65 on this Thursday. John Houston is one of them. Famous golfer in this time period, very good player, has a very good major championship record. Also shoots a 65 to open in a tie for lead on this Thursday.
Any chance this is Jose Maria Olazabal?
It's not. It's Tiger fucking Woods. He
Wow.
opens with 65 and is tied for the lead at the Open. John Houston in the tie for lead. They say he uses magnets in his mattress to aid his back problems.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
How do you get magnets in your mattress? Do they come with magnets? Does he travel with them? Is this a Louis Oosthuizen situation? Like, had not heard this one. Tiger is using Marco Meara's backup putter this week.
Yeah, I have read that detail comes up in mine as well. That's it's wild to think that this is the pre Elder Wand era of him, settling on the one putter that he'd use for essentially, other than the brief Nike stint, like the rest of his career.
Nick Price, Fred Couples, Lauren Roberts shoot 66. Robert Allenby, Brad Faxon, Peter Jacobson, Davis Love, and Vijay shoot 67. This would be the day to get it because conditions are going to ramp up from here on out. There's a great scene in this Open film. So another great job by the RNA, just kind of a documentary film on the week. And this scene in there, there's a bunch of caddies sitting around a bar. I don't know if this is a bar at the club or if it's down the street or whatever it is. And it's just a bunch of dudes sitting around telling Seve stories. This to me defines 90s golf of the round ends and all the caddies pour into a bar and they sit around. Nobody's got phones, obviously. Everybody's just talking and telling stories, and it's just a traveling circus. And there's a great scene in this film, and people should go back and watch it. And it's if I could drop myself into a room in golf, it'd be like a room like this where I could just sit and chat with these guys, hear stories. It's really cool vibe. Just a weird little note there. Because this era is about to change. I mean, golf gets a lot more serious in the 2000s. And I just don't think this is coming back. It's just peak tour vibes in this scene. So we get to Friday. Here is your weather forecast for Friday. Temperature 13 degrees Celsius. Winds gusting to 45 miles an hour. Woo. That is a lot of wind. It's kind of the story of the day. There, Payne Stewart is getting ready to tee off here on the first, and he grabs the microphone. The microphone's not on, but he grabs it. The cameras catch him. He says, he does an English accent. It's actually pretty good. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your cars and go home. Today's round has been canceled due to inclement weather." John Daly is there with a big beanie on, and it's tough. Everybody's bundled up from the jump, but 43,000 are on the grounds on this day. Lee Janzen almost gets DQ'd for being late to the tee as they couldn't make their way through the crowd to get there. He has to duck under a rope, and they barely make it in time. This was just an interesting little thing. People get on us a little bit for, when we refer to it as the British Open. But people, from the UK need to know that this is how it was presented to the world for a long, long time. But I don't know when exactly the Open rebranded, but here is an on-site Japanese telecast kind of booth from it that just says British Open Golf on it right there. Just an example there of and this is in the official Open Championship film here, right? And they didn't care about the branding of this championship to the same extent that they do now. So there's a reason why we do get that. A great shot here coming up shortly. I'm going to show you of Mike Tirico in the booth with a new announcer, 98 Open Championship. This is an Open champion, a familiar announcer that we still hear today. Can you tell me who Mike's new co-announcer or color commentator would be in the 98 Open?
Is this a golfer?
He has won an Open in this decade that we have covered.
Wow.
And still a broadcaster.
It's still a broadcaster. Is this Ian Baker Finch?
It is Ian Baker Finch.
Yes.
With a young Tirico in the booth. I just enjoyed that shot because I actually interviewed Tirico at the 2017 Open Championship in one of these booths, 20 years after this when we were there last. That was a fun memory I have back then.
Yeah.
So, a young American, or middle-aged American, I guess you could say, by the name of Brian Watts shoots a 69 on this Friday and takes the solo lead at 3 under par. He's wearing a PRGR hat. Allegedly, this is a golf equipment company in the time period. I do not remember this. He is one of only 7 players to break par on this difficult day. Play actually gets suspended for 38 minutes when winds touch 50 miles an hour. Tiger shoots 73, and he honestly looks like he's about to blow away in this jacket.
It's been working out, Soly. This is a yoked Tiger.
The parachute jacket was not great for 50-mile-an-hour winds. He's big into the double fist pump at this time. If you remember this, like one with the caddy, like one on top of the other, like where you each do that back and forth.
Uh-huh.
That was a big thing that kept happening in this one. Justin Rose going off. He is draining bombs everywhere. He makes an eagle on 17. He birdies the last hole and shoots 66 on this windy-ass Friday. And this is your leaderboard after 2 rounds. Brian Watts in the lead at 3 under. Justin Rose, the AM. Tiger Woods and Nick Price at 2 under. Thomas Bjorn sitting there at 1 under par.
I did not remember Justin Rose like legitimately contending. I thought like he shot a great round on the final day, but like literally in second place through 2 rounds. That's incredible.
We're gonna get into some of that. Kuchar unironically wore the Payne Stewart cap with a Nike sweater. I guess I don't remember this era. John Daly made a 10 on the 18th hole. He needed 5 shots to get out of a fairway bunker and got booed and hissed at by the British fans as he made a half-hearted attempt at a final putt.
I've almost honestly stopped including those things because in every single major from this era, there'll be like a note in the notebook, be like, John Daly made a 10 on such a thing. Like every single major, he would basically just completely inject from something. Like in the Masters in my year, 98, I didn't even put this in there. I think he made a 9 on 15. He makes a fucking 10 in the PGA Championship coming up. Like he just and the truly, like if you put him in a bad spot, he was just going to take like 10 aggressive swings and just basically say, fuck it.
So about our leader, Brian Watts. He is born in Montreal. His father is English. His mother is German, but he is American. He turned pro in 1988. It says 80 to 90% of his tournaments are on the Japanese tour. He had 10 wins on that tour at the time. He's commuting back and forth from his Oklahoma home to Japan 6 or 7 times a year to play that tour.
Wow.
He said his best year on the Japan tour was winning about $1.4 million in 1994 when he won 5 times. That's some serious money.
Catch the overnight red eye from Oklahoma to Japan.
He actually got up to 35th in the world rankings. He was a master manipulator. I think that's what they would call him in this time period. He was allegedly actually really famous in Japan. He was on billboards and buses and stuff on the Japan tour. He once got fined for hitting 2 balls towards the ocean in the Fujisanke Classic in a deliberate attempt to miss the cut. He got banned from the Japan Open for that as well. John Garrity wrote in Sports Illustrated, Watts has been portrayed in the media unfairly, according to his friends and family, as an ugly American who accumulates bags of yen while shunning Japanese food and culture. Watts says he eats whatever his hosts serve him, except the raw fish. It's just a mental block. He says he even loads up the rice cooker whenever he's in Oklahoma City.
Come on. He's not an ugly American. That's an American who's slowly embracing culture.
It's another windy day. Gusts are up to 35 miles an hour on this Saturday. Justin Leonard, who's the defending champ, he shoots 82. Nick Price shot a 45 on the back 9. Ernie Els got more weight added to his putter head to deal with the increase in the wind. The Duke of York was there on this day. It's an old film, but only uploaded to the RNA channel a year ago. I am surprised that one didn't get clipped out of the film. But it is Justin Rose fever. I mean, the headlines, the media attention, the galleries, like it's a thing. It's a massive thing. He was a 500-1 long shot when the week began. The headlines going into Saturday include Woods prinked into action by early flowering Rose. There's Boy Wonder. Hardy Rose takes Open by storm. That's my boy. And Rose's date with Destiny. Tiger, of course, has a weird shirt on this Saturday, kind of tan on top with a weird black stripe at the bottom of it. Absolutely whipping in the wind. Just tough overall image for the baggy era. Matt Kuchar's out on the course watching Justin Rose after he, of course, missed the cut. By the time Rose reaches the 12th hole, he is leading the Open Championship on this Saturday.
Wow.
Here is our leaderboard after round 3. Watts in the lead, Parnevik at +2, Furyk at +2, O'Meara at +2, and Rose at +3. Tiger's at +5. He shot 77 on this Saturday. People have no idea how hard it is to keep in there. Just because a couple of bad shots, you're in the hay out there. The stuff you can't play out of.
Tough.
Phil shot in the 80s on this day. Nick Price said, I would have thought the RNA would have made the course a little easier today. 81 of the best players in the world, and they can't break par. Something is amiss. John Garrity would also later write, that Marco Meara was headed back to replay a shot, and after an apparent lost ball when a spectator stumbled upon it, and rescue the caddy is yelling after O'Meara, but it's so windy he can't hear him. But they get O'Meara's attention, call rules official, and he gets a free job.
Don't hit it, no.
Like the scene from Interstellar.
Yeah.
No, oh God. So finally on to Sunday, a calmer Sunday. There's some better scoring, but O'Meara makes bogeys on the 6th and 7th holes, and he's in the left rough on 8 in trouble again. And again, this is how thick this rough is at this time point. Not a good angle. Ball below his feet, up on a hillock there, and he's struggling a little bit. And he hits this shot just right of 8. That if you can barely see this in this image, it's just inside this Marshall that's standing right of this green.
Yeah.
Again, this rough is thick, but it bounces out of the thick rough, gets down onto this fringe slope, and gets all the way down onto the green. And he would go on to make that putt. I mean, he's looking at bogey, and that one actually ends up going in. And that's just, again, highlighting the thin line between birdie. If he doesn't get that bounce, he doesn't win the Open Championship, because it gets very, very close coming down the stretch. When he saw his tee shot on this hole, he said he would have loved to have made 4. He makes 3. He is now +2 for the tournament. Again, he is a club twirler, man. And this every single one of these shots, and he does it at such a cool angle. I don't know how he makes it look very, very cool. All this, it might have been where I got it from, honestly, as a kid, of trying to impersonate a young Marco Meara. People think it's Tiger, but it's O'Meara who was a twirler.
The true godfather of club twirls, perhaps.
He hits a good iron into 11. He drains the birdie. He's within 1. So here is our back 9 leaderboard as things are getting interesting. Brian Watts still leads by 1. Furyk is just behind O'Meara. Tiger Woods is 4 back of the lead at this point. Probably not going to be a factor in this thing.
I like that the Open Championship just says par, like not even.
Yeah.
He's at par.
Level par.
Level par.
So O'Meara steps up then on the 12th hole and makes a 30-foot bomb. Furyk makes a birdie playing alongside O'Meara. He's now 1 back. Watts bogeys 12, but O'Meara bogeys 13. Tiger birdies 15. So now here is your leaderboard. Mark O'Meara, Jim Furyk, Brian Watts all tied at +1. Tiger 2 shots back of that as well. O'Meara steps up and stuffs a 3-iron on the par 3 14th. I mean, absolutely stuffs it. It is in there mega tight, maybe 3 feet with 3-iron. He rolls in the birdie, and he's got the outright lead. Tiger's running out of holes. He Icaritos one on 17 with a wedge, like with his 3rd shot. Like it's, he needed to be going at that hole in 2, and he's flying the green. So he's, of course, out of it, chipping with a wedge from long of 17. Just kidding. He fucking chips it in. Oh! Tiger Woods chips it in from long of the green. Now he is just a couple shots back. Still probably out of this thing, but whatever. I mean, 18 is tough. Here is our leaderboard. O'Meara's at even. Watts +1. Tiger's now at +2. But O'Meara could go backwards. There's still some bogeys out there. Tiger may be in this thing, but 18 is really hard. So Tiger needs this 4-iron into the 18th. He knocks it to like 40 feet. It's a good shot. I mean, its conditions are tough. Probably 2-putt par, whatever. Still just end up with a solid finish here at the Open Championship. Lag it on up there. Just kidding. He fucking makes it.
Wow. I did not remember this.
I don't remember that either. I did not remember this either until I'm even up to be watching this part of the film, and I'd researched it all, done some reading. Did not remember this Tiger comeback. The back-to-back birdies to finish. He gets in the house at +1. Final round 66. Low round of the day. Again, he shot 77 the day prior.
Oh.
And now back behind, O'Meara's in some trouble on 16, and he makes bogey. Tiger, Watts, and O'Meara are tied for the lead.
Jeez. This is sort of a forgotten Tiger contention.
Yes. Watts playing in the final group. He stuffs it in there on 16. Rose gets a massive ovation coming up 18, as he's getting ready to play his shot, his 3rd shot in there. O'Meara drove it poorly on 17. He had to lay back. He had, quite a ways in on the par 5 with his 3rd shot here. And he hits it, and he, of course, twirls it, and he yells, "Be the right distance." And at the same time period, Watts misses his good look on 16. It was a tough par 4, and he had a really good birdie look, and he missed it. and O'Meara steps up and drains it from 15 feet to get back to even par. So if he makes par on 18, Tiger's now out of it. Meanwhile, Justin, again, this is happening fast and furious here at the end. This has been an exciting one to watch live. Rose is lining up a pitch shot here on the 18th from maybe about 60 yards away. Badly out of position, deep rough, in between a couple of bunkers, launches it up in the air, lands it on the green, and it fucking goes in. He holds it for birdie. Massive, massive ovation. The iconic images of him lifting off his hat and screaming up in the air as he finishes tied for fourth, +2, 1 shot back of Tiger Woods, 2 shots back of the eventual 72 hole leaders.
Your boy, me, I asked him about that sweater this year because he was wearing one similarly in the final round at Troon. And so I was like, was there a little inspiration from the sweater of old? And he was like, yeah, it crossed my mind.
O'Meara steps up, splits the 18th fairway. Watts gets close to 17 and 2. O'Meara hits it on the 18th green. Watts gets up and down for birdie. He drained a 15-footer after hitting a really bad chip. And O'Meara comes up way short with his birdie putt on 18. I mean, this is, I don't know how well you can see this here, but I mean, that's a good 4 or 5 feet after a makeable birdie putt. It was a very bad opening putt, testing putt, but he makes it. He shoots 68. Watts drives it into the left rough, then into a greenside bunker on 18. He's got a foot out of the bunker. O'Meara's sitting greenside. Wow. It's like a tough looking up and down. And Watts hits a miraculous bunker shot to within a foot. I mean, incredible long range bunker shot to within a foot, makes a par. Yeah,
I need to go back and watch that. This
is a good rewatch down the end. And there is a final round available as well, not just the highlight film. There's a final round available on YouTube. 4-hole playoff, holes 15 through 18, all awesome holes at Birkdale. Here is our final leaderboard with O'Meara and Watts. Tiger finishing just 1 shot behind. Raymond Russell and Justin Rose are there finishing in a tie for 4th with Jim Furyk and Jesper Parnevik as well. O'Meara's caddy, Jerry Higginbotham, said, just pretend you've got Tiger out for an emergency 9 as they go out to the playoff. O'Meara makes birdie on the par 5 15th. Watts misses maybe like a 5-foot birdie. Watts had the closer birdie look, and they kind of did a little 2-shot swing there. Both guys par 16 and 17. Watts hits it in the bunker on 18. All O'Meara has got to do is hit the green with this second shot. He strikes it. He twirls it. Goes to 25 feet on the fringe, night. Mark O'Meara wins the Open Championship at age 41, 2 major championships in the same year. When you're 41 years old and you win a major, your kids are kind of grown up.
Kids are older, yeah.
Yeah, when they run on the green. So, his 2 of his kids, I don't know how many kids he has. There's 2 kids that his daughter and his son run out onto the green, give him a hug, and here he is lifting the claret jug.
Someday when I win my G flight in the NIT, that's my dream. So my kids will be able to run out and be like, Dad, you met your quota. Good job. You're on to the finals where you'll probably finish 7th.
You're our hero. I don't know why I'm a Mark O'Meara fan. Maybe just because he's been really nice to us, done a couple great interviews. But this was a fun one to relive. I thought it was kind of the reason you do some of these things, because like I said, you don't even remember Tiger really coming close to winning the 98.
Brian Watts' major record is kind of wild.
It's not great. This is only top 20, I think, in a major. So we'll get some of that. This is the 4th straight American to win the Open. Watts did end up getting his PGA Tour card through this. He had enough earnings in this to get his tour card. He made 20 of 24 cuts the following year in 99, enjoyed a solid 3-year run before beginning to fade in 02. He only made 29 starts from 03 to 05, then never made another start on the big tour after 2005. He played very little after that because of a bunch of injuries. He played 17 majors. This was his only top 20 finish. When he left the Japan tour, he was 2nd all time in foreign earnings, as far as foreigners earning money on the Japan tour.
What do you think about all these foreigners on the Japan tour?
Tiger would say that he was heckled out there by the British fans. Said there were some things that shouldn't be saying, especially on the golf course. Or I'd say anywhere. Overall, the week has been great. But he did, I guess, endure some heckles.
Answer for yourself, Southport, Birkdale people.
Nick Price complained again about the conditions being too tough, or he complained about the conditions being too tough on Saturday, and afterwards said this course is like threading a needle, but a par 70 for a course over 7,000 yards is a bit severe. Rick Rimsnyder's column includes the quip after that says, Funny how Price never uttered a negative word about Royal Birkdale after he opened the tournament with a 66. Lee Westwood was co-favorite with Woods, and Rick took him to task, saying he couldn't handle the pressure. Westwood said, "I'm not disappointed. It's just another golf tournament." He would also go on to say, "You do not treat majors differently. It's just another 4 rounds." As a guy, again, we don't know this as of 1998, but he would, of course, never win a major championship, and those quotes ring a little ominous now. If you're going to claim you've got major championship golf figured out, you don't treat it differently, you're probably going to need to win one of those to be able to say that. So.
Well, so I'm sure he'd be happy to go through the qualifier or the Open Championship now and like get one more shot at it. I mean, he's definitely not scared to do that at this point.
Dudley Hart played the final round in 2 hours and 20 minutes and caught an 11:50 a.m. flight to New York. And he shot 80. Can you imagine playing in the Open and like landing in New York at like 1 p.m. probably?
There was, when I was coming up in sports writing, I'm still this way, like kind of angsty writing, like, late into the night or whatever. There was these couple writers who, this is true on the golf beat, I'm sure too, who like, they would have their whole story written. And when the last putt dropped, they would like click like the final period and they'd be walking out of the media center when I'd be sitting down and writing the date line on my fucking story. It was like, I was in awe of how these dudes are just like, yep, I'm good. Like I'm off to play somewhere. I'm catching the red eye home.
Tom Watson, afterward, he calmed the media down after they were critiquing Tiger, saying he was going to win the Open Championship, and how amazed he was at how good he was at all the little shots. So that was a prescient quote there from Tom Watson, as Tiger would go on to win 3 of the next 8 or 9 of these things. Kuchar was asked about becoming rich if he turns pro. He said, "They are saying millions. I don't really know what $1 million is going to do for me. I really don't know what a couple of million will do for you." I don't know what that means, but again, is a weird quote looking back at some of Kuchar's more frugal moments. And then the last thing I had, this felt like a shot at me from Brian Watts. He said, "Hopefully I moved up a notch and gained some respect for the Japanese tour today. A lot of people have been writing bad things about Jumbo Ozaki. I could tell you he's a much better player than I am. For people to say those guys over there aren't good, those people don't come over and watch the play." It just felt like a shot at future me, even though he
Taste it, 6th grade Soly.
Got it. Got me good there. So that's the 98 Open. Again, a good rewatch for an exciting finish in Birkdale. Birkdale was on display in this one. It was a fun one.
It's funny to think about Kuchar being like a character in there because, years later when we're at the 2017 thing, like honestly, one of the most crushing things I think I've ever witnessed as a journalist is Kuchar's kids like standing around 18 green, thinking that they're coming there to sort of like, in the beginning of the day to like celebrate dad winning his first major, and then like Spieth just like steals his soul, and him being like such a good dad in that moment, like hugging his kids or they're crying and being like, it's okay, like it's it's all right, it's just golf. And I was just like, man, what a heartbreaking thing. Like I know we get on Cooch a little bit, but I've always loved him as a dad in that moment. And just to think about like that will always be Birkdale for me in some ways, like much Spieth's collapse, or as much Spieth's collapse and then resurrection as like Kuchar's kind of range of emotions that day. So
I can't wait to relive that one. We'll get there, I'm sure. All right, bring us home for 98.
All right.
I'm guessing, as always, the PGA is going to be the shortest one.
And you know what? Let's just say what we always say in this is that PGA in part is the shortest one is because they won't put any fucking highlights, or they won't put like the full round up here. And also, frankly, the media doesn't cover the PGA the way that they cover the Masters. Like when we do this draw, it's always like, it's a win to get the Masters, right? Because it's the most covered one. And then, you kind of diminish it down the line. They're highlights on YouTube of Vijay Singh's and Steve Stricker's final rounds, but they are not edited together. You cannot watch them like in the same video. They are 2 separate videos. It's just all of Vijay Singh shots in one video and then all of Steve Stricker's shots in the next video. So like in order to like experience the final round, you would basically have to open them up in 2 different windows and then click back and forth.
And it's got to be a off-market upload. It's not like from the PGA of America.
No, it is from the PGA of America.
Oh god, that's worse. Okay.
Yeah. So that someone had the option of literally, and it's from the broadcast, of just putting it all online. But no, it's just like, hey, here's the clips of all of the final round. So we're going to Sahalee Country Club, where they just played one of the women's majors. At this point, Seattle has not hosted a men's major championship in 52 years. Seattle's feeling a little defensive, a little protective of their course, of their sort of place within the game. I don't really have a ton of this, but there's a lot of like hinting in the kind of the local media. I spent a lot of time reading like the Seattle Times and the Tacoma News Tribune about just how like this, people really got to give this a chance. It's not fair if players don't really, embrace golf here in the Pacific Northwest, because we really love our golf up here. And it's like, okay, yeah, we get it. Like, it's okay. You could honestly sense, I think, some of that when Chambers came back around and people shit on it too. It's like there's a little bit of like understandable defensiveness because people did not quite love and lean into golf up here. Marco Meara is trying to become the first man since Ben Hogan to win 3 majors in 1 year, which is.
I hadn't crossed my mind that he could win 3. I know he doesn't win it, but I wouldn't even have crossed my mind that was a storyline going into the final major.
As you know, Sahalee Country Club is very tree-lined. Lee Janzen says, I think the best way to prepare for this course would have been to go to a big city like New York and maybe play down Fifth Avenue. That's how sort of tight some of the corridors are. So we start out, and Soly, who would you say who could you guess is the first round leader? Guy with has had some success in major championships, played pretty well in recent years.
It's so much more fun to quiz other people when you know the answers, because now I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm like, how does he not know this? Guessing is he a major champion in the 90s?
He is a major champion in the 90s.
Corey Pavin.
It's Tiger fucking Woods. I just decided to flip this back on you.
What?
Tiger shoots a first round 66 at Sahalee. Doesn't use driver hardly at all. He had decided basically he was just going to hit 3 woods and 3 irons or 2 irons off the tee. Like kind of a surprise. I guess I skipped ahead a little bit because I wanted to sort of talk about some of the pre stuff in part because Tiger is still like, it was remarkable to hear in your wrap up about how he didn't win he almost won the British Open, because after the British Open, Tim Rostafar, like famous golf writer, writes in Golf Week, this Tiger Woods kid is a fad. He hasn't transcended the game. He isn't the Messiah. Second coming? How about second rate? And in the Times of London wrote, watching the boy genius fail was a particular pleasure. It was a proper reward for his demeanor. It corrected the ignorant who know nothing of golf, assuming that Woods was better than everyone, that he would inevitably beat anybody. Kind of crazy. Like Tiger, even though he's like playing really freaking good golf, just because he hasn't won a major since the Masters is like kind of being shit on. Earl Woods sort of says, lead up to this thing, we in this country have a death wish. We create heroes only to take them down. And if we can't find anything wrong, we invent things. It's almost becomes the truth. But the players are sort of very complimentary. Lee Janzen said, I think he's challenged us to maybe start thinking a little higher and setting higher goals. Prior to the week, Fred Couples basically had to play new irons because Lynx, who he's featured all throughout in the Masters, it went bankrupt. He needed a new set of irons, and Lynx could not provide one because they had gone bankrupt as a company, so he had to play Maxfly irons. Yeah.
Whoa.
Did not see that coming. Al and Brent Geiberger made history for being the first father-son tandem to play in the PGA Championship. And a bit of a sad somber note here. Stuart Appleby was playing the first time since his wife was killed after she was hit by a taxi outside a London train station right after the Open Championship. They were going to go on like a second honeymoon. She rushed back to retrieve a bag from her car, and the driver of the taxi, not realizing he was in reverse, backed up and crushed her between 2 cars. Appleby was really sort of kind of open and really vulnerable in this sort of stuff. He said, I feel like she was the first prize in a raffle of picking life partners, and I was lucky enough to get her. There's not an hour that goes by that I don't think of her. Not an hour, and that's okay. You just wish things were different. Obviously, it's a very sad time, but I'm sort of moving forward. I'm not even worried about how well I'll do here. I'm just going to take it as it comes. Days are more important than scores. Tiger, not someone we think is particularly sentimental, said that when he saw Appleby for the first time on Monday, he almost teared up on the spot. He said, I almost get choking up even talking about it now with you with the media. A couple other notes. This is the first tournament that Callaway introduced their steelhead driver. I don't know if you ever had a steelhead, Soly, but John Daly says he's 15 yards longer with the steelhead than his Big Bertha, and he's just going to go ahead and hit driver every hole. Gave my biggest Big Bertha to some 8-year-old kid. Goodbye titanium and hello steel. If I hit my driver well, it's going to be a huge plus. It's the only way I know how to play aggressively. It's like going to the blackjack table. John Bailey did not work out for him. He shot 80 on day one and was underneath all kinds of trees. But of course, I said Tiger is the first round leader. There is an 8-way tie for second place. Here we're going to renew my game where I'm going to give you the first name of the player, and you get to try to guess who it is. All right, first name, Glenn.
Day.
There, very good. Second, Bob.
Bob May?
No, Bob Estes. Frank?
Nobilo.
No, Frank Licklider.
Oh, the blade.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sort of just cross yes off on Paul Azinger and Shigeki Maruyama.
Shigeki, I might have gotten, Paul, I might have messed up.
Billy?
Mayfair.
No, Billy Andre, and then one last one, Scott
Simpson.
Scott Gump.
Okay, wasn't gonna get that one.
I had no idea who Scott Gump was. Some of these guys, I mean, apologies to Scott Gump if you're somehow listening. So the next day, Vijay Singh surges into the lead with a 4 under 66, but Scott Gump is still in second place. He follows up his 68 with a 69. I had no recollection of Scott Gump's career, but he finished second at the Players Championship in 1999 when David Duval won the Players. Gump finished solo second. It was his best ever finish on tour.
It's so weird to hear you like recount this tournament because I don't have like one single image, not one single image of this tournament in my head. I no memory of it. Never heard anybody talk about it. Like it's just like a lot. It's kind of like the Baltusrol 2016 major. I don't even know if it happened.
May or may not have happened. It's interesting because like the weather is kind of shitty in some of the videos, and so it's like kind of grayish. It doesn't really, it's so many trees. It's so lush, like the tight fairways and the really a lot of rough that it just doesn't look particularly great. Like all the sand is like kind of that dirty brown, wet sort of thing. So it doesn't really pop in contrast to the bunkers or anything. In round two, so Monty admits that he didn't even bring a driver to the course on Friday. He just left it in his locker to avoid the temptation, and he shot 67. Can you imagine a major championship where guys are basically just not hitting driver at all, and every single shot was 3-iron or 3-wood off the tee?
Well, I watched a fair amount of European Tour golf in this time period. Like when I was a kid, that was always on in like the middle of the day and summers and stuff. And I remember like marveling at Monty's how low he hit the ball off the tee and the accuracy. It was just like he split so many European Tour fairways with less than driver. It's just a lot of shitty golf courses they were playing in that time period that I remember as well. But just a Monty could absolutely stripe it, man.
In round two, Steve Stricker gets into the conversation shooting 68. And Steve Elkington, perhaps buoyed by the good play of his buddy Shigeki Maruyama, shoots 69 to climb into contention. Tiger struggles a bit with a 72 in round two. That includes 3 lip outs. Just couldn't make any putts. It's starting to look like a 2-man race in the third round. And we're kind of speeding through this in part because it's just not that much interesting that happens. Vijay shoots another great round, posting a 67, and Stricker shoots a 66 to tie him at 7 under. They are 4 clear of Elkington, Davis Love, and Billy Mayfair. Tiger is kind of lingering at this point, not really loitering anymore. Shoots a 70 that has him 5 shots off the lead going into Sunday. Greg Kraft shoots a 65, the lowest round of the tournament.
Sure.
Vijay at this point, he's won some, but he's never won a major. He's not sort of a star. He's just sort of seen as like super hardworking person. He's kind of aloof, doesn't really have a ton of friends, but everybody sort of respects him. He's 34 at this point, by the way. Vijay's such a tinker at this point that he's basically like putting with a different putting grip, like almost every single round, every single, day, whatever. He's just not a very confident putter in any way. He's picked up a new putter like weeks before. In the on Sunday morning of the major that he is tied for the lead with, he goes up to Nick Price on the putting green before the final round and asks if he can have a putting lesson, if Nick can give him some tips. Nick Price, by the way, finishes 4th in this major championship. So why exactly Nick Price does shoot 65 in order to do it, but so maybe he was far back enough that Vijay and thought it would be fine to ask. But Price basically says, I'm not going to tell you anything. You know exactly what you need to do. Just go play your own game. He says he's such a talented player, he's talking to the media later, that no one should be surprised if he wins. I've never seen anyone work as hard as he does. I mean, he has torn up so many practice tees. I wonder how much earth he's moved over the years. He can just hit drivers for hours on end. I don't know if Mr. Hogan practices as hard as Vijay does, but I'd certainly be surprised if he did.
When I was in 2010 or 2011, I forget when it was, I was living in Chicago, did not work in the golf industry. I had a trip to TPC Sawgrass with my dad and a friend, and like had heard the legendary stories of like Vijay, but it's kind of the stuff of legend, whatever it is.
Yep.
And you're at TPC Sawgrass. Like, what are the chances you're going? He was there hitting balls all fucking day, like all day. I remember seeing him there, and then like he blew up on some. His food wasn't ready at 10:20 or something, like when he needed to have it in his routine or something. And we got a picture with him on that day. Actually, I might need to go hunt that down somewhere, but I bet I could find that. But yeah, it was like a thrill of me, like a big golf fan. I was like, I get to meet Vijay Singh when I met my magical trip to TPC Sawgrass, but he was there just banging balls that day.
When I covered the Gator Bowl in 2004, I was the Maryland football beat writer for the Baltimore Sun. And we got basically told, I think it was by like one of the other beat writers, like, hey, the TPC Sawgrass is like would happen to have media people out, be totally comped, go to, just go over there, show up. I've arranged the whole tea time, whatever. So it rolled out there, and I remember they handed me the receipt, and I looked at it, and it was like 4 rounds. It was like, $1,400 or $1,900, whatever. And on my heart, like fucking skipped. And then I looked lower in the receipt, and it was like comped, like voided, and it said like 000. And I was like, I did not have $1,900 at that point to spend on a foursome of golf. Well, we were kind of joking, like, as we were on the first tee, like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if we saw Vijay out here? And like we played through like 9 or whatever. I don't know the course well enough to remember this, but we at some point we're going past the practice range, and there he was, just like pounding balls, like just absolutely, raking, shots after shots. This is a quote. Someone asked him, later about his practice routine, and he said, "When my wife and my boy are not traveling with me, what would you do? After you finish your round, you've got the whole day to do nothing. I would rather go hit balls than go to the hotel room and lie there and watch TV."
I found it, by the way. This is me without a beard, with a Navy SEALs signed flag for some reason, and this was stuff I think for a birdies for the Brave fundraiser back in the day. But here's my photo with Vijay.
I'm still probably mentally adjusting to you without the beard. It's hard to, I'm trying to remember who you look like. I don't know. So I'm going to think about that a little bit. All right. So I watched what was available of the final round here, which I said is sort of split into 2 different highlight packages. Vijay does not hit it great the final round. I mean, he is like missing greens all over, but he just keeps getting up and down from all kinds of funky lies. I mean, on the very first hole, he comes up like 20 yards short of the bunker. Like he doesn't even get to the green, but he's short of the bunker, and he has to hit like a nippy 60-degree wedge, like high up in the air, flop shot over to like 3 feet, makes it. So this is a round where he is going to sort of battle. Stricker actually takes the lead on the 4th hole with his 2nd straight birdie, but then Vijay birdies 5 and has it for good back when Stricker bogeys the 6th and the 9th. On the par 5 11th, Vijay gets an incredibly good break. This is sort of similar to some of the breaks that we've been talking about throughout this. He just blocks one dead into the trees, and it somehow kicks directly left and onto the green. He has a makeable eagle putt he almost makes, but then he rolls in a birdie. He's 2 shots ahead of Stricker still. He gets his only bogey of the day on the 12th, sort of hits a shitty shot in the bunker, can't get up and down for the first time kind of all day. Stricker's back to within a shot, and then Stricker stuffs it on 14, hits it to probably like 3 feet. Vijay does the same. They both make birdie. The lead is still 1. Stays that way until Stricker hits it in the bunker on 17. Singh hits it onto the green. Shitty bunker shot from Steve Stricker. You think about, one of the great short players of all time, really kind of let down by his own short game. Can't make the par putt. Vijay makes a routine par on 18. And of course, Nance gives us the Vijay means victory call. Because it does mean victory. I'm going to read from Sports Illustrated's John Garrity here. Vijay, of course, was, if you haven't been familiar with some of Vijay's past, he was kind of a controversial figure for reasons you will understand why in a second. 20 years ago, he was a lonely youngster hitting shag balls in the shade of a giant mango tree in the South Pacific Island. 15 years ago, he was an intermittent golfer, leaving trails of bad loans and unpaid phone bills from Australia to Malaysia. 13 years ago, he was an exiled pro in the rainforest of Borneo, banned from the Asian Tour for altering his scorecard at the Indonesian Open. Now Vijay Singh is a PGA champion. Let the record show how good Vijay Singh was on this day. I'm skipping ahead in the story. And let us recall briefly how naughty he was. Naughty is the word because none of Singh's youthful indiscretions did permanent damage. In Australia, when he was barely out of his teens, Singh's financed his travels with loans from friends and tour officials and rarely paid anyone back. He cleared up most of his debts a few years ago, the ones he could remember anyway. He was also notorious for making long-distance phone calls from clubhouses and leaving without paying the bill. It's kind of sick, I gotta say. But the episode that has truly haunted him occurred in Jakarta in 1985, when the Asian Tour suspended Singh for improving his score by a stroke before turning his card into tournament officials. Singh has long maintained it was all a misunderstanding. Asian golf officials and other witnesses insist he was caught red-handed and deserved punishment. Whatever the facts, the Singh who emerged on the PGA European Tour in the 1990s bore little resemblance to the man after the Jakarta episode went into exile for 2 years to teach golf to lumberjacks and oil riggers in Kenayagu, Borneo, a jungle outpost 2.5 hours from civilization by dirt road.
Jesus.
As Singh says, I became a little more polished and a little more mature. An experience like that forces you to grow up. After the PGA Championship, we were talking about some of it, and Vijay said, I was out there hitting balls in the 100-degree heat, thinking about what I was going to do next. I had to earn some money to go on tour again. I think that was my lowest point. I never thought about coming to America, let alone winning a golf tournament over here. I did not know this. Vijay actually worked as a bouncer in Edinburgh, like kind of while he was playing on the European and Asian tour, trying to make some money. He said, he told Golf Channel's Todd Lewis in an interview recently, I could fight a little bit, made for a good bouncer. I did a lot of martial arts growing up. Asked how he would be received in Fiji, he said, I hope I'm a hero now in Fiji. I haven't been back in a long time, but I hope everyone saw this. They didn't, writes Sports Illustrated, because there was no television coverage of the event in his country of 800,000. His wife and 8-year-old son, Cass, however, were there in person to follow him around for victory. Vijay, 22 of his 34 wins came after he turned 30. He was 34 at this point.
Wow.
So some scant thing. I had a great picture somewhere of Stricker in possibly the worst golf fit that I could imagine. Didn't upload properly, so you'll just have to imagine in a sort of a beige sweater over a red and blue polo. Really, really not a great look. Vijay, not awesome look back then either, but the glasses and the visor, I'm sort of coming around to it over the years. He lived his truth. He wore his style as it was. So
I think a VJ deep dive is in our future at some point. I think it's a interesting cat. Interesting might, I don't know, be too kind of a word, I guess, for VJ, but still a lot we probably don't know about him.
I will say, Mark O'Meara, we were talking about how he could have won. He finished T4.
Really?
5 shots back. Tiger finished 10th, 108 shots back. But like Mark O'Meara, honestly, like an incredible major season, right up there with kind of, Spieth's major season in 15, where he was in contention, 3 of them. Or 4 of them, really. So, Mark, I don't think he contended in that U.S. Open, really, but he was definitely kind of hanging around in this one for a while.
Mark O'Meara, we'll dedicate the 1998 episode to Mark O'Meara officially as the 2-time major winner for this year. So that is going to wrap us for 98. I guess 99 is up next. We're starting to get into something that we've kind of covered in other things. We did a Tiger Slam one, all this, but we kind of have a little bit better blueprint of doing them. So we're going to slowly keep working our way through them. And as always, Kev, appreciate the insight or the time that goes into preparing these. We appreciate everyone that gives great feedback on these as well. And for tuning in, we'll see you back here next time for another deep dive. Crack on. Cheers.
Cheers.
For FanDuel, must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Thanks for tuning in.